Original, I definitely want to hear from you tonight. Shout out to my people that's over there in YouTube. Shout out to you guys over there in YouTube, guys. Definitely for those coming into the space tonight here on Twitter or X, and those over there in YouTube. For the people over there in YouTube, make sure you click that notification bell. Make sure you go ahead and share tonight's broadcast, leave a comment. Visit Newstoter.com to stay up to date on breaking Black news in Black America. Newstoter.com is the largest Black-owned Black American news media curation platform today in America. Once again, click the notification bell. Definitely like, share. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel as well, too, for my people that's up in the Twitter space, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's up in the Jumbotron. We're going to be getting things rolling here shortly. We're going to be talking about Jamaal Bowman and quote unquote the actual reparations bill that he's trying to back. You know, we got Dr. Darity. He's been in my tweets the past 10, 15 minutes. And we're trying to get Dr. Darity to come on into the actual space tonight, but I don't know if we'll get Dr. Darity to come up in the space. We did a space, I think it was last Wednesday or Thursday, about Dr. Darity's quote unquote disapproval with reparations being held at the state and local level. So Dr. Darity, I sent you an invite. We would love to actually have you up in here. What's up, Extreme? What's up, Rashawn? I see you guys over there in the YouTube realm as well, too. We're going to be talking about Jamaal Bowman. Man, I put this tweet out today, and let's just say that you got a lot of people that's pissed off. I wish we could get a number of the actual folks that were actually hating on the tweet, hating on the actual content, because we got a number of people, a number of racist tweets that went out, people telling us that your reparation is in watermelon and Coke 40, the liquor, the malt liquor, that you already got welfare, you got this and you got that. So I would love to have a number of those people that's been up there trolling with the comments to come on up here and come up in here. I see Extreme X said he's trying to sucker Black people to vote Democrat. Normally the Democrats hadn't even want to talk about this, but you know, we'll definitely touch up on this tonight as well too. Like I say, shout out. I see Original up in the space. We're gonna give our people a few more minutes to come up in here. And then I'm going to touch up on the actual article as well, too, guys. I'm going to touch up on this actual article. And then everybody can go ahead and respond as well, too. So shout out to everybody that's coming up in the space. Fahima, I'm going to get to you. I'll go ahead and let you ask a question real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, Cori Bush, it's her bill, and Bowman is sponsoring, but it is Congresswoman Cori Bush's bill, and I put that information up in the Jumbotron because as Sheila Jackson Lee was, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah, Jamaal Bowman is just a co-sponsor.
Yes. So I just wanted to say, as Sheila Jackson Lee was running for mayor because the Republicans in Texas had split up her district, and it would have her and Al Green running for the same district. And so she was running for mayor so as that they wouldn't run for each other. And she was the one who had reinstituted HR 40 and had 2 hearings on it. And so Cori Bush picked up the mantle last year and introduced HR 414. So he is, I don't want necessarily him to be Jamaal Bowman to be the focus because it's not his bill. He's just a co-sponsor.
No, he's a co-sponsor. He's a important piece into it, but it's not his bill per se, but he is a co-sponsor. So, you know, and the actual article that we cover tonight just talks about him, you know, being a co-sponsor of the actual bill as well, too. I'm going to touch up on that right now. I'm going to actually get into the article. And once I get through with the article, anybody that wants to go ahead and talk about it, raise your hand, request to speak, and we'll go ahead and get you up here. Guys, make sure you go ahead and share out the actual space as well, too, for tonight. The title of the article says Jamaal Bowman co-sponsors bill that seeks $14 trillion in slavery reparations for Black America. This article was published on the Neo Jim Crow website. One of our curation partners, curator on the Newstoter.com platform, the largest Black-owned Black American news media curation platform today in America. State section slavery existed in what became the United States for 246 years. 10 of the nation's first 12 presidents enslaved black people, including one who engaged in slave trading from the Oval Office. Enslaved people, both in the North and South, helped build our nation and were a foundation of the 18th and 19th century economies. The Hudson Valley's Philippe's family, with a mansion in Yonkers and a mill up in the river of Phillipsburg Manor, made a portion of their fortune through slave trade. New York's gradual emancipation in 1799 subjected current slaves to lifelong bondage, but granted freedom to those born after 1799. By 1827, national emancipation came in 1865, but freedom for the former slaves did not bring prosperity or rights enjoyed by other Americans. U.S. Representative Jamaal Bowman, Democrat Yonkers, said it's time for the federal government to finally acknowledge deep, lasting harm suffered by African Americans. He backs federal legislation that would create a $14 trillion reparations program to aid descendants of enslaved black people and people of African descent. So let me say that again. He's talking about for the descendants of enslaved black people and black people of African descent. I see DJ, you requesting to come up here. So let me go ahead and let you get up here. But let me get back to this article. To put the price tag in perspective, the federal government spent about $7 trillion in 2020, about 28% of the nation's $25 trillion economy. There are about 42 million African Americans in the United States, representing 12% of our nation's population, according to the 2020 census. That means the proposed reparations program could deliver roughly $330,000 per person. Bowman said it could be paid over decades. Who says the $14 trillion needs to be paid out in one shot, said Bowman. It might be possible for it to be paid out over 5 or 10 or 20 years. You could take that $330,000 and break it up into monthly checks over X amount of time. There are creative ways to do the right thing, and it needs to be done. For Bowman, the reparations discussion encompasses a broad look at racial inequalities across American society, including housing, mass incarceration, higher education, and wealth inequality. The bill, co-sponsored by Bowman, which was introduced in 2023, comes 35 years after a bill to set up Federal Commission to study reparations was first introduced. The bill remains pending and was reintroduced again this year as well. Bowman's bill, meanwhile, lacks a Senate sponsor, which means it won't advance even if it passes the U.S. House. The call for federal reparations is part of our country's reckoning with slavery, a reckoning that has found a foothold at historic sites like the Phillips Manor Hall in Yonkers and Phillipsburg Manor in Sleepy Hollow. The House resolution notes that scholars have estimated that the U.S. benefited from 222 million hours of forced labor from 1619 to 1865. That equals to $97 trillion in today's dollars, the bill states. There were 246 years of free labor that produced trillions or hundreds of trillions of dollars for the U.S. economy, said Bowman. The economy wouldn't exist in the way it does had it not been for slavery. Bowman was among 9 original sponsors of House Resolution 414 in 2023, which, in a gripping narrative, details the history of enslavement in America and the vestiges of slavery that sponsors say continue to inflict harm on Black Americans. The bill calls for policies that would accompany the monetary awards, free college education at the nation's 107 historically Black colleges and universities, funding for the National Publishers Association and National Association of Black Broadcasters, and restitution of voting rights for the persons currently or previously incarcerated. I think people incarcerated should be able to vote, said Bowman, and I definitely think that when they come out, they should automatically be enfranchised. The bill is the latest attempt by Black representatives to promote reparations. Bowman is also a current co-sponsor of House Resolution 40, introduced in 1989, which set up a commission to study reparations. While the federal bill to create commissions has yet to pass, the states of New York and California have authorized such studies, with New York Governor Kathy Hochul signing a bill to launch a panel in December. In 2023, the city of Evanston, Illinois, approved a reparation program to provide $10 million over a decade through $25,000 housing assistance grants to Black residents for down payments, repairs, or mortgage payments to atone for racist housing policies in the past. Funding comes from taxes on cannabis and the sales of homes costing more than $1 million. The federal government set a precedent for paying reparations in 1988, providing reparations to 82,000 Japanese Americans who were survivors of internment during World War II. That program was on a much smaller scale than contemplated by Bowman's bill, with $20,000 paid to each survivor. There's a split among Hudson Valley Democrats on H.R. 414. Supporting the bill are Bowman and former Bedford Supervisor Marianne Carr. She is challenging former Representative Mondaire Jones for the Democratic nomination in neighboring 17th district, now represented by Representative Mike Lawler. Opposing H.R. 414 Jones and Westchester County Executive George Latimer, looking to oust Bowman. Instead, Latimer and Jones back House Resolution 40, which calls for reparations commission and apology from the federal government for 246 years of state-sanctioned chattel slavery. The issue of reparation deserves serious consideration and dialogue, which is why I support H.R. 40, Latimer said, but H.R. 414 is a one House bill with no chance of passage, so it's clearly a political statement more than anything else. While Jones opposed Bowman's reparations bill, he backs conducting a federal study into the impacts of slavery. I recognize the impacts of slavery and subsequent state-sponsored discrimination in the United States are still being felt today, from the vast racial wealth gap to residential segregation and unequal educational opportunities across public schools, he said. As Congress looks to level the playing field for all Americans, regardless of race, it is important to study these impacts more closely. U.S. Representative Mike Lawler feels that the payment of reparations to descendants of enslaved people and people of African descent could exacerbate racial tensions in the country. Lawler, meanwhile, said it would be wrong to burden 21st century taxpayers with paying for a system of slavery that was abolished in the 19th century. Congressman Lawler strongly opposes any law that would force today's Americans, taxpayers, to pay reparations for slavery that ended 160 years ago and nearly 200 years ago in New York State, said Lawler campaign spokesman Chris Russell. Aside from the $14 trillion price tag requiring massive tax or debt increases, the congressman believes such a law would only lead to a greater racial divide and resentment at a time when we need to come together as a nation. Bowman maintains that the federal government has a withdrawal to pay the tab. He cited the space race in the 1960s and 70s, as well as recent federal response to COVID, as examples of how the federal government can respond. When COVID was destroying us, we invested into the American people in a way that kept the economy afloat, said Bowman. The government can invest in the same way reparations without raising taxes on anyone. He said the government stepped up the crisis, spending an estimated $1.6 trillion in 2020, according to U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data compiled by the USA Facts. That year, the government took in $3.6 trillion in revenue, yet spent $6.6 trillion, adding $3 trillion to the federal deficit. Where did the money come from? Bowman said, we spent it into existence. John Brohl at the Urban Bookings Tax Policy, a think tank in Washington, D.C., said the impact of reparations of this magnitude would depend on the financing of the borrowing package, the distribution timetable, as well as possible spending offsets. He noted that reducing poverty among Black Americans will lower demand for federal programs while addressing long-standing moral issues. So it can certainly be done. They're just side effects that we would need to prepare for, he said. Bowman also said that such investments in the Black community could spell dividends for the economy as well. He noted that the $14 trillion price tag in the bill may be adjusted upwards to $16 trillion to account for the inflation that will occur before the bill finally passes. Let's say the investment of $16 trillion will yield $100 trillion on the back end, Bowman said. It's just like when you invest in childcare. Every dollar you invest in childcare yields $14 on the back end. Shout out to everybody coming up in the space, guys. Y'all hear what we're talking about? Of course, we're talking about Jamaal Bowman. We're talking about him co-sponsoring a bill for reparations. I definitely want to hear what people got to say about that. We got a number of people on Twitter. We got a number of people over there on YouTube as well too. Fahima, I know we started the space off and you were speaking as well too. So I want to get people's opinion on, if you got something to say, just raise your hand and I will definitely get to you. See my man Ray's down at the bottom. So what's up, Ray? I see you up there as well too. This post that I put in today, it's up in the jumbotron. It's on the far right hand side. You guys get a chance. I'm gonna read some of those comments later. Somebody speaking.
Yeah, this is Wendell Woods. I want to thank you for holding this symposium.
Okay, Wendell, real quick. I'm gonna get to you. Just go ahead and raise your hand because I didn't even know you were speaking. But yeah, I'll get to you. But I'm gonna read some of the comments as well, too, guys, so you can see the reaction about reparations and how it still rubs a lot of people the wrong way. It is a bunch of responses that are pretty blunt about what they think about Black people and reparations as well, too. Now, Wendell, did you want to go ahead and say something?
Yes. I want to thank you very much for holding this symposium. It's critical. The platform for the Biden administration, they need to have that. You probably know Cornel West has it in his platform to deal with reparations for 2 years. But the issue should be for us voting is that if there are no reparations, there's no White House. The Biden administration needs to know that they can send money to Ukraine, they can send money to Israel, they can send money to Egypt. But the bottom line is that the 256 years that we've been enslaved, as you know, created $14 trillion. So where does that money come from? It comes from loopholes in corporate taxation. It comes from billionaires. It comes from customs. So there are various forms and methods that middle-class people, working-class people don't have to pay for that. But Biden, if he is elected, they need to have an executive order. It is a national emergency. The Blacks need to be paid for their wages that they were not paid for, and they need to get it done. And so Black people should do just like we did during the bus boycott. We need to select businesses. If Biden administration doesn't embrace immediate reparations, we need to impose economic, I hate to use the word sanctions and boycotts, but we need to provide the carrot to those businesses that support us. For example, if Costco or Sam supports reparations, we need to shop there. Those businesses that don't support reparations to African Americans, we need to walk past those businesses. So there are various strategies that we can use. And I hate to use the word boycott because that can be unfortunately taken by your enemy and misconstrued. But the bottom line is that Black people spend $1.6 trillion a year. So we have the economic weapons in order to get what we need. If the Biden administration or if the Trump administration doesn't give us what we want, which is immediate reparations, and it should be paid in gold certificates or gold bars immediately. And so that's the bottom line. And nobody should be entitled to the White House until Black people are paid immediately. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate that, Wendell. I want to ask you a quick question too. What's your opinion? Because when you read what Jamaal is saying, he starts off by saying that that the people that are descendants of chattel slavery, basically they deserve reparations, and then he says people of African descent. What's your feeling on that as he kind of widened it?
I agree with. Okay, I read most of the California Commission under the Attorney General 3121. They did extensive, even though that research was already there. The state of California did. It's a good blueprint because it comes up with a formula, and it focuses on the former descendants of slaves. So for me, I would stick with that definition that California used to answer your question, which is, you would have to prove through census or through DNA that you are a descendant of former enslaved African Americans. I believe that's appropriate, and I believe that's correct.
All right, I appreciate that. Definitely. One thing I will agree with Bowman said, and I've said this time and time again, people, when they hear terms like when they hit the numbers 14 trillion or 16 trillion or how many of a trillion they're talking about, like no one's saying that the United States has to pay all of that at one time. I've said it many a times that you could pay that over 20 years. There's no need to go ahead and and mess the economy up. You go ahead, whether you're going to spend $500 billion a year, or you're going to spend $1 trillion. You can go ahead. They can definitely go ahead and afford it that way if they break it up, as he was saying there. I see we got Original up here for Hema as well too. If you guys want to speak, because I don't see anybody's hand up, but Original, go ahead. What's up tonight? How you doing, Original?
Wendell, just one correction on what you said about Cornel West. On Cornel West's page, he has reparation to address unpaid debt to Black U.S. residents.
Yes.
And see, when you say Black U.S. resident,
Okay.
that includes Black immigrants who are not descendants of the Black people who were enslaved in this country.
Yes,
And see, I think it was back in the 90s. Someone had filed it was either the 90s or 80s. A claim had been filed for reparations, and it was going through the courts, and the court said that that this could not be done under the auspices of race. And if other Black demographics are included with this, see, in my opinion, Jamaal Bowman knows exactly what he is doing. See, there seems to be some kind of collusion going on with high-profile Black people, Black elected officials at all, when it comes to Black Americans getting reparations. They want to come out here and put things out there that they know already that is not going to go over well, and to come out and promote something and promote reparations for people of African descent. You're going to get some white people stepping up there trying. Well, I'm from African descent. They're going to come out trying to say that they this, that, and whatever, and it is going to jack up everything. So we have to be demographic specific.
That's correct.
When we talk about reparations for us, because trust me, these people are going from everything that we don't obtain reparations. But I would suggest that it seems like there seems to be some type of edict that has been given to these people, whether it be Cornel West, whether it be Corey Bush, whether it be any of these people. You see, they can come. They've been told that they need to put this out in a way to where it's going to fail.
Okay.
And that's exactly what they are doing. Cornel West knows that Black people who are not descendants, what they all know, Jamaal Bowman, they all know that if you're not a descendant of the people who were enslaved in this country, you are not entitled to anything. That's plain math. Adding 1 + 1 is 2.
Right.
But they seem to want to stick on that platform to make sure that because see, look, let me put it to you this way. Jim Crow Joe Biden gave Africa $55 billion. Now, I haven't heard any African head of state indicate that they would share some of those resources with U.S. descendants of enslaved people. You see, everybody want to come and jump on the bandwagon when we get stuff popping, because a number of those people, they were saying that we would not get reparations, blah, 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 and this, that, and whatever. But yet, when the California task force made it lineage-based, these people, and because see, these Pan-Africans, and please understand, these Pan-African organizations like NARC and COBRA, Institute of the Black World, they are all financed by white money. And whoever provides your sustenance, they can dictate what you do and how you do it.
Yes.
So they cannot, none of those groups can be trusted. None of them. Go ahead.
I want to agree with you 100%. It should be lineage-based, and it should be demographic-based. Demographic. I agree with you 100%. The only reason I mentioned Cornel West is that he had it on his platform. Okay, but you're absolutely right. The way he watered it down. I got you. You're correct. What I want to suggest again is that 3121 specifically made it lineage-based, and that's the correct definition. I'm agreeing with you. Now, let me say specifically, my ancestor, A.N.C. Williams, was born a slave 1844 in Franklin, Tennessee. He got out of slavery in 1860. He got out of slavery right 2 years before the Civil War. I could trace my ancestry to him, and it's been done Frank Williamson County Historical Society, not only him, but others. So I'm saying I know who one of my great-grandfathers was A.N.C. Williams, was a businessman in Franklin, Tennessee, for over 60 years. There's a plaque in downtown Franklin for him. There's a street named after him. And people like Thelma Battle have documented and traced my history to him, even though I was already familiar with him. So I'm saying I am a lineage-based, demographic-based definition of an ancestor of a formerly enslaved African American. So I can trace my history, but I agree with you 100%. It should not be watered down, and it should not be. We should be careful of organizations that want to mess it up from the beginning and make sure that it doesn't. That it's complicated and it won't get done. I agree with you 100%.
I just have to make that clear because I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not sure how many times you've been in Newstoter space, but see, I've mentioned this before. See, back in the 90s, I lived in California, and you had a lot of the black scholars sharing information with us about our American history, about history of Africa. It was just Black history, period. But see, Cornell and Henry Gates, they were attacking the black scholars, saying, calling them liars and all kind of things. And see, Henry was given a full-page ad, and it was one of the newspapers in New York, where they did it in the symbol of "as above is below," and where it stated where he was demeaning these black scholars. What some people call "as above is below," some people call it the Star of David, which is a lie. But anyway, I just want to say that because see, we really have to be careful of the people like Jamaal Bowman, Corey Bush, and a number of these other people, because their objective is, and they know what they're doing. There isn't any way, because I think it was the 90s or whatever it was like the kind of the mid 90s. Something happened with reparation where there was a case that went to the courts, and they said that it could not be done under the auspices of race. And see, and Mr. Johnny Cochran was going to take this on, but unfortunately, he transitioned to the spirit world before that could happen. And as smart as Mr. Cochran was, I think he probably was going to go with the lineage-based. So we just have to be very careful when we put stuff out there like that, because when we start, promoting what some of these people are doing, like, Cornell West, who seems, hell, if he can include the illegal aliens with us getting reparation, he will do that. That's how sick he is. He is not someone who is friendly towards black folks. And anybody can say anything. I'm entitled to my truth, and whatever your opinion is, that's your opinion. Okay, I'm just gonna put it like that. And Newstoter, did you go over? I guess I can wait. I'll see if somebody wants to say something. But have you mentioned that about Killer Mike yet?
I'm doing that one tomorrow. This is that's gonna be tomorrow about Killer Mike, and yeah, I went ahead. That was supposed to be tonight, but I went ahead. This actual post that I put out today gained so much traction with Jamaal Bowman and reparations that I figured that we would just go ahead and cover that tonight, and we'll do the Killer Mike tomorrow and the actual Kenyan Black American businesses as well too. So we're gonna have two of them tomorrow. We're gonna be hitting on.
I like to ask the host, how do you see the Bill 3121 as a blueprint for not only the formula? At the end they came up with a formula for the legislators in order to come up with the amount of the reward, but their definition. How do you see that as being integral in terms of your agenda in this whole discussion, in terms of what they did in their data? How do you see that hosting others?
Original, you want to touch that one or?
Now, what's the bill? Now you said it's 3151.
No. Okay, no. California concluded its 2 years of hearing, and they came up with over 800-page report. I'm just wondering, in terms of our agenda today, how does their report fit in with this whole issue of reparations, even though it's at the state level? Well,
their report fit in because they made theirs lineage-based.
Yes.
You have a number of people with black skin in California who are not descendants of the people who were enslaved in this country. When this was going through the ranks, some of them were making pejorative comments about us, saying that we were not going to get anything, we didn't deserve anything. And as soon as that came down in California, the task force voted to make it lineage-based, they got upset. See, the issue for me is that Black Americans have been doing a lot over the past few decades. And just because someone had black skin, if they came here, they were able to access those resources. And so now that we understand that a number of these people, for whatever reason, they have this vitriol for us, and we've not done anything to them. So now they are using these Pan-African groups who, like I said earlier, who are controlled by white money to try to make sure, and even some of these congressional people like Cori Bush, and I'll even include Jamaal Bowman. I haven't had a chance to go through their platform to see exactly who has been used. Because when you look at it like this, when during when 2021 popped in, which was in COVID, right? And so the Democrats and the Republicans came together and passed an Asian hate crime bill. But when you look at the crimes, the hate crimes statistics, hate crimes against Black folks were over 3,000, and hate crimes for Asians was only like 700 and something. So who should have gotten a hate crime bill first, or should there have been another? Okay, if the Asian got a hate crime bill, fine, but should there have been one specifically for Black people? And this is the issue: is that it's because it's because of the vitriol that they have for us, and they're going to use any and everything, including Black immigrants, to try to disrupt what we are doing here now. And so that's my take on it. Is that when California, yes, I think the California task force is more correct, that can be used on a federal level, but it's going to take a great deal of effort from us. We're going to have to start pushing these elected officials. Which city and state are you located?
I'm in Michigan.
Okay, so you have is Rashida Tlaib your representative or someone else?
She's not my representative. No.
Okay, but we are going to have to start. We're going to have to start lighting fires under these people, because I'm beginning to push. See, Nakima Williams is my representative here, and I'm in the 5th congressional. Well, it was the 5th congressional district before they split it up. This is the district that John Lewis represented. Now we have this person named Nakima Williams, who basically, she voted for this Asian hate crime bill. But see, the issue is she did not advocate for us. So how can you ask for my vote if you're going to go out there and advocate and protect other demographics, but your own demographic you don't advocate for? That doesn't make any sense. So stuff like that has to be done, because we have to show them. Because see, like, right, I'll give you an example. Like right now, I've been in communication with someone who has said to me that I should vote for Donald Trump because he's going to secure the border. But see, that's like going from one anti-Black political party to another, and that's what Black people did previously when they switched parties. Because Blacks used to be Republican, now they're Democrats. And so, but if they're not going to promise, if they can't make concessions for you, then like me, I'm not voting. Without no concessions, I'm not voting. But this person is telling me that I need to vote for Donald Trump. But see, here's the issue with that. See, during the 2020 election cycle, Ice Cube came out with his contract with Black America. So he reached out to both Donald Trump as well as Jim Crow Joe Biden. Donald Trump, people had a conversation with him, and then they put this thing up there called the Platinum Plan for Black America. But when you read that Platinum Plan, it had the word minority in it 3 times, which would have allowed other demographics who are not black to access those resources. See, when other people get stuff, they are demographic specific. During that same time period, Jim Crow Joe, he had on his platform, he had a platform for the gay community, and throughout that entire platform, it said LGBT, 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 LGBT. He was demographic specific as to who the resources and laws would target. But see, when it comes to us, all of a sudden, it's a free fall for everybody.
I want to thank you for your narrowing it down and putting it under the microscope. I want to also add that last year I had written to Joe Biden. I used the email and I got a response back. Also, I written specifically about reparations and about my ancestor Anthony Williams. That I'm a descendant of formerly enslaved African Americans. And I put a figure of $3.5 million in there. And I also spoke to Kamala Harris. And I also did something to get her on board. But the point is that both of them responded to my email. I mean, they responded on the White House letterhead. They never used the word reparations. They talked about racial equity. They did respond, but they talked about racial equity in housing, the criminal justice system, education, and employment. And I thought that, Biden and Harris didn't read it specifically, but the fact that their staff never used the word reparations is, to me, a form of disrespect. Okay, because John Conyers had used that word HR 40. His whole thing was about reparations. So my point is that since the Biden administration never used the word reparations, and since Kamala Harris's staff never used that word reparations, that's being disingenuous at best. It's also being disrespectful. But to say this, before Biden had picked Kamala Harris, as a teacher was on these robocalls with people at the American Federation of Teachers, and in one of the calls, I asked the coordinator of the calls, I said, okay, who is the Democratic Party the teachers looking at to support? You're talking about 3 million teachers, right? And so she said, well, we're looking at Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren. And so I said, well, who else? And then she said, Gretchen Whitmer. Well, I said, well, what about Kamala Harris? Be thinking about qualifications. So I guess my point is that I thought that Kamala Harris would be qualified, at least from a perspective of being Attorney General, to be a great vice president. My point is that I was supposed to meet her in Detroit before Biden selected her. She came to Detroit, to the NAACP, and I didn't, for various family reasons, I couldn't meet her. But my whole point is that I didn't have a demand at that point when I had supported her. But I had made calls to Claiborne in South Carolina, the UAW, the Teamsters, and all, and also the Biden administration. I made a lot of calls, and I feel I was effective in getting Kamala Harris. But again, I did not have a demand at that time when I asked Biden to select her. So my whole point is that as Frederick Douglass said, power yields nothing without a demand. And so unless we demand that any candidate put on their agenda specific demographic lineage-based reparations and an amount, we don't need a commission, because as you know, a 2-year study, that's a waste of time. All the research has already been done about the damages, the emotional, psychological, physical. We need an executive order from either Biden or Trump, whoever gets in, to do an emergency, because this is a medical emergency in terms of blacks' health. So it needs to be on their. It needs to be on their the agenda on their platform. If it's not on the platform, they don't get in the White House. It's just that simple. And so that's the only way that you get it, is through a demand. If you don't have a demand, you will get nothing. So we need, as African Americans, they always come to us during the election. They always go to the church, say, oh, we need to get out the vote. We need to get out the vote. This is very critical. Then they threaten us with Trump. Okay, they threaten us with Trump. Trump doesn't have 40 million nooses to lynch all of us. So my whole point is that whoever is going to deliver the goods, that's the person that we represent, even though we understand how disingenuous Trump can be. But, Biden is slippery also. So my whole point is that black people need respect and we need immediate reparations. They should come in gold certificates, not in dollars. They should also come with the resources for black businesses, black colleges, black mental health. So the bottom line is that I go with California's 2-year study. They did all the research. We just need to get that done at the federal level. And any candidate for president needs to have it as their agenda. And they need to have an executive order immediately within the first 30 days that they will compensate. We don't need a 2-year study. That's a waste of time. And you're right. I put a figure of $7.4 million total. 3.9 from the federal government, 3.5 million from the state. And my state is Franklin, Tennessee, where my slave Nancy Whitman.
Wait, hold on 1 second, original. Let him finish real quick.
Okay, so my total figure is $7.4 million. 3.9 from the federal government, 3.5 from the state of Tennessee, which is where my ancestor was enslaved, and $750,000 from Franklin, Tennessee. That's how I come up with the figure of $7.4 million that needs to be paid. So the federal government, Biden or Trump, would be doing $3.9 million immediately in gold bars and certificates, not U.S. dollars. That has to be on their agenda. Thank you.
Okay, now when you say that, are you saying that's going to be the total amount?
Hey, original, real quick, because Fahima.
Each descendant.
Real quick, I'm muting y'all real quick because I'm trying. I don't know if y'all can hear me, but Fahima, if you want to speak, I don't know. I know you came back up here. And I don't know if you was having some issues. If you want to speak, just raise your hand and I'll get you. I'll get you up here to speak as well next too. Because I know you were coming back up here. I don't know if you were trying to speak, but if you're trying to speak, Fahima, let me know and we'll get you up in here. And anybody else down in the listener section as well too. If you guys want to speak, raise your hand.
I don't have the ability to raise. Posting some receipts in the Jumbotron, and I'll wait my turn in the queue because I'm posting some receipts because I come with receipts just to back up what I'm saying. So I'm finishing that up and then I'll take my turn.
Okay, after original, then I'll go ahead and I'll get you next then. Go ahead, original.
Okay, yeah, I just want to get that clear because I know, because see, Newsweek had stated that each black American descendant of enslaved people was deserving of I think it was $156 million each. But the seven million, okay, fine. I didn't know if you was stating that for each individual or if you was stating that for the entire amount. But I did hear you mention Clyburn from South Carolina. He is another person who cannot be trusted. I mean, he worked with the Republicans so that they wouldn't do redistricting to his district so he could stay in office. So we have, like I said before, we have quite a number of these black folks who have been in office for 20, 30 years or longer. They have not done anything to benefit us. And they have to be called out, and we have to understand that when anything come up regarding them, we cannot trust it. Because, see, this may be the only shot that we have to get this. Now, I will say this, from my understanding, this may have to go through Congress in order to pass. But as far as the study has, wait a minute, let me finish.
Wait, who's coming off their mic? Go ahead, original. Go ahead.
Okay. With all the books that have been produced and all the movies that have been produced from some of those books as to what happened to us, the study was done decades ago. So there is no need to have a study. And so when explaining to them, when they say, well, we have to do a study, just explain to them, cite some of those books like The Half That's Never Been Told. You know, what do you call it? It's two something, Black, White, Hostile, and stuff. I can't think of the name of the book right now. But there has been numerous books that have been written documenting what happened to us. So for them to say they need a study, that's a stall tactic, if you ask me. But I just want to say that because I think that we have to try to be as specific as possible. And especially, it must be lineage-based. And I land Newstoter.
All right. Appreciate that. Who is that speaking?
You know who it is. Hey, Newstoter, what's up?
Don, what's up? Now, Don, you already know the rules up in the space.
I know.
Don, all right, listen here. Don, I'm gonna let you stay up in the speaker spot just for a second. Okay, everybody stay on your microphone, talk. If you're drunk, if you're buzzing, this might not be the space right here, okay? We don't want anybody coming in here interrupting when somebody's speaking. So go ahead and let that person speak.
Okay, well, real quick. Hey, Don, I'll let you up out of courtesy because I know you're from California, bro. And I know you on our reparations. You're a black man, just like the rest of us here. You know what I'm saying? So let's stay focused, all right? You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, talk.
All right. Let me go ahead and get to Fahima. Fahima, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Okay, well, thank you very much for allowing me to participate in Greetings. So I asked a couple of things that were posted, some receipts in the Jumbotron. Some people had an issue with the descendants. Where that comes from is during the UN Conference Against Racism, in addition to African community, those outside in the diaspora, outside of Africa, are part of the sixth region and the UN, the Decade of People of African Descent. This was something that came out of the UN Conference Against Racism, which I participated in 2001 because I was the co-chair of the Howard University chapter of Recopa, had to travel to Durban, South Africa, and I worked with Congressman Conyers as a co-chair of the Howard University chapter. I'm hearing somebody.
Yeah. I'm at to drop Don down for a second, but go ahead.
Yeah, so that's where the African descent came from, because people acknowledging the transatlantic slave trade and people of African descent being dispersed all over the diaspora. In fact, you may have had someone who may have been a sister and a brother, or one was sent to Georgia, another one may have been sent to Brazil, or one may have been sold off to Louisiana and ended up in Jamaica or wherever, or Cuba. Okay, that's the African descent issue, and I posted the declaration in the Jumbotron. The other thing is, people obviously have not read the COVID-19 anti-hate crime bill. Yes, it was sparked by the so-called rise in attacks against Asian people, because Donald Trump continued to refer to COVID as the China virus. And you had white supremacists who were attacking Asian people and people that they thought were Asian. And then you had some black people who had mental health issues who also had attacked some Asian people. But if you read the bill, it covers every protected class of people. It provides monies to states for every protected class of people, which last time I checked, black people were a protected class. So it's not called the Asian crime bill. Yes, it was sparked by Trump calling it COVID, the China virus, but it is called the COVID-19 anti-hate crime bill. And if people take time to read it, they will find out that it does include you as a protected class. There was one other thing I wanted to mention, and it escapes me right now. Hold on one sec. Oh, yes. People, I don't know how many people here are familiar with Project 2025. Project 2025 is the transition platform for in the event that Donald Trump is elected. I'm not going to go into the sordid details, but it would behoove everyone to read the 2025 plan, which is the transitional platform for Donald Trump in the event he's elected. And I will land here.
Okay, Fahima, I wanted to kind of On one point that you made, because when I'm talking about the actual article, it says he backs federal legislation that would create $14 trillion reparation program to aid descendants of enslaved Black people, which we're assuming he's talking about descendants of chattel slavery in the country. And then he says, and people of African descent. The whole thing about reparations that we're all talking about at this point right now is for the actual people that were actually that went through chattel slavery, would actually be the descendants of actual Black people in this country that were actually descendants of actual chattel slavery. Now, I know you used an example and you were saying that somebody was here and then they went to Jamaica. Well, if that person was here in the 1800s or 1700s and they went to Jamaica, then they're Jamaican. They would no longer be American. The same thing if you had a person that was in Jamaica in 1800, 1805, and then master sent them up here to, let's say, Mississippi, then that person is a descendant of American chattel slavery. So that person would be entitled to reparations.
Well, CARICOM is addressing people in the Caribbean who did their reparations issue, and it's people who were members of the British colony. When Lizzie died, those countries had rose up. But I'm simply clarifying this thing because the fact is the people that are the descendants of slaves, we didn't drop out of the sky. There was a transatlantic slave trade, and people were kidnapped and taken from Africa and brought here. There are slave forts. I visited them. The most recent one was one in there are slave forts in Senegal and in Ghana and in Sierra Leone. Bambia is the most recent one.
I understand what you're saying, Fahima.
I'm simply explaining the reason why I said people of African descent. Although people don't want to acknowledge it, if your ancestors were kidnapped from Africa and in the transatlantic slave trade, you are a person of African descent.
We're not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is this right here. I'm saying that here in America, okay, we understand that people were taken from Africa and brought here as slaves. So we're not disagreeing with that. What we're saying though, the people, but hold on real quick. We're talking about the people that were actually the ones that actually went through the Holocaust here in America, the ones that had their families split apart, the ones that were sold, had babies ripped out of their arms, the ones here in America that built this country for free. Those are the people that are due reparations in this country. We're not saying that the other people, other Black people that went through the transatlantic slave trade aren't due reparations. Nobody would say that. We're saying they're due reparations from their colonial master the same way we do from our colonial master right here in America.
And we agree on that. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that those same people are people of African descent. That's the
thing. But the thing for him, he mentioned though, the people that are descendants of chattel slave in this country, those people we understand are descendants of African descent. So he didn't have to go ahead and say, well, the people that's descendants of enslaved Black people and the people of African descent. That means you could have got here last year and he could be including you into that as well.
Well, if you got here last year, you're not a descendant of you're not a descendant of slavery.
But you have African descent though. If you're a black person that came from Africa, the Caribbean, and you got here last year, 10 years ago, you're a person of African descent.
Well, let me speak. Okay, there's reparations on two levels, right? As I mentioned, I was a co-chair of the Howard chapter in Cobra, worked with John Conyers briefly, Johnny Cochran, and also the brother from Harvard who recently passed away. Let me just say this. There's reparations on several. This HR 40 is dealing with things on the federal level. But there are other direct claims. For example, you have Georgetown University. They sold enslaved Africans to save the university. So those people's ancestors are going to get legacy scholarships as reparations. Now, people can debate, whether that's fair or whatever, but that's what the deal is. Those in Loudoun County, Virginia, when Brown versus the Board of Education was in effect, instead of integrating the schools, they decided to close the schools. And what consequently happened is African people in Loudoun County were denied an education. They said, well, It's going to hurt white people, but it's going to hurt black people more. And then gave rise to what it was known as, gave rise to the first charter schools. So someone had dug up this history, and so Loudoun County is providing educational reparations to those people who were descendants were denied an education. You have Evanston, Illinois, those people who were denied and discriminated against in housing. They're taking the marijuana revenue to compensate.
You consider that in Evanston? You consider that in Evanston to be real reparations?
Well, the people who were discriminated against, and they're getting some restitution, they consider it reparation. And just one other thing: the people in California, the Bruce family, whose land was taken away from them. And
that's not reparations. That was just simply giving back land that the government stole from them.
Okay, well, you can that's your opinion, and that's fine.
Well, that's an actual fact. I mean,
and they considered it reparations. Reparations means to restore. So if my land was taken away from me, and my descendants get my land back, that's repairing and restoring. And so anyway, so reparations on the federal level with the HR 40, and then there are other instances where people who had been lynched, land taken away from them, and all sorts of discrimination and things in this country. Now with people, I'm going to land here, but...
Yeah, because let me go ahead and get to the other speakers.
Can I just make this one last point?
Real quick.
The case, I'm trying to get it out. The Case for Reparations by Ta-Nehisi Coates, which is a very extensive piece in the Atlantic, which gives a delineation of redlining and things that were done to that shows that makes the case for reparation.
All right, thank you. Let me go ahead and get to Freeman. Then I'm gonna get to Jess Case was up here, but she's not up here. Then I get to you, Roz. Roz, I know you had your hand up. I don't know if you still want to speak, but if you do, put your hand up. I get to you. We'll get the original as well too. But Freeman, how you doing tonight?
Hey, just real quick before you go on, Freeman, Jumbotron top left hand side. If you got a problem with your phone, hey, Fahima, you need to fix your phone, mama. I don't know what's up with it, but fix your phone. Updates, upgrades. Go ahead, Freeman.
No doubt. Thank you. I am blessed and unstoppable. Thank you for asking. Newstoter, salute, respect to you, the host with the most. Of course, white people, institutions are racist. That's an absolute fact, DJ. Original. I see why they do me like that in the space. Lied by the man. Mrs. Hilda and the rest of the Freeman family. So, Jamaal Bowman co-sponsored bill for reparations, $14 trillion. This bill is trash. This is not reparations. They're talking about the HR 414 bill that was proposed by the anti-American Freeman, who I believe is American Freeman, Corey Bush. It's trash. We see them. I guess they have some information or some people who is hearing the work of Dr. Derry. I'm hearing a lot of, I read the article, by the way, but I'm hearing a lot of talking points and things from Dr. Derry. But this bill is unconstitutional, first off, so that's dead. And secondly, there's no specificity to it. It's just another version of the trash HR 40 bill that this young lady, Fahima, is talking about, which is not reparations at all. HR 40 is not reparations, and I see why she's talking this nonsense. She's touting her credentials as if she has yielded any results as being a co-chair for whatever, but in reality, and what we're doing and what we're talking about is the conditions and badges and incidents of slavery, which her organization has done absolutely nothing to eradicate. Absolutely nothing. She speaks about Evanston, Illinois, as if that's reparations. No, the people in Evanston, Illinois, respect to reparations first. Ms. Rose, she said that's not reparations at all. She says that is racist reparations, and it is not reparations for the American freedmen. So we have to watch out for people like Ms. Fahima, who try to talk at us and talk about the COVID crime bill that did not apply to Jordan Neely, when he was lynched in New York City, but yet she tried to come up on this stage and tell us that that hate crime bill, it applies to everybody. That hate crime bill applies to everybody. Did it apply to Jalen Walker or any of the other American Freeman victims as of late? Absolutely not. Did they invoke that bill for the American freedmen in Buffalo? Absolutely not. So I don't know what the hell she's talking about. And as far as HR 40, that bill is not reparations either. John Conyers is dead and gone, and Sheila Jackson picked up the mantle. By the way, Sheila Jackson is a Jamaican. She is not an American freedman. Go figure why it has been dead for 30 plus years, just like all of the organizations she represents, who does absolutely nothing for the American freedmen on the ground or anywhere in this country. She is no different than an Al Charlatan. She is no different than an Inez Dickens. She is no different than a Charles Dickens. She is no different than an Al Taylor. She is no different than a Cordell Clear or even Michelle Obama. So how dare you come into this space and try to explain to us away the lack of results for the American freedmen in your organization? Let me tell you something. We will not accept nigger pennies and nothingness as justice for the American freedmen. We demand full reparations, all of the justice exclusively for the American freedmen. Your organization has a legacy of failure while we're still suffering from the legacy of slavery. These brown-skinned, complected people who came here last year, like Newstoter was talking about, they are not owed the 48 and mules yet. There is no tier when it comes to reparations. All of the tier things that you want to talk about and scam Howard, all of it is exclusive to the American freedmen. It's not for Caribbeans. It's not for people of African descent like Elon Musk and Charlie Theron. This is for the American freedmen. If you claim to do advocacy, do the right and exact advocacy work and add some constitutionality in the letter of the law. If your intentions and your purpose is true for the American freedmen, if you want to do justice, do it right. Don't half-ass it, and ain't no half-stepping when it comes to our American freedmen justice, Ms. Fahima. So yes, you have failed. John Conyers has failed. Scam Howard has failed. The NAACP has failed. All of these organizations have done absolutely nothing. Let me tell you the organizations who does do work. U.S. Freedmen Project, the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. We are leading the way when it comes to this reparations movement. No thanks to you. No thanks to you. You do nothing for the American freedmen community because you are anti-American. I don't even know if you're an American freedman, but if you are, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should get the hell out of this space and go to your Negro Whisperer friends and tell them all of the scared niggas is not in this space and they are all dead. And listen, understand this. We will not tolerate you coming to us and gaslighting us and wanting to be inclusive of all people with brown skin with our justice. That's exclusive to the American freedmen. Okay? I'm sick and tired of you Johnny come latelys who want to come to us in this space and tell us like you're having an entire whole conversation. We're beyond that right now. We're beyond that. This bill is trash. It is not reparations at all. HR 414 is unconstitutional and it lacks specificity to the American freedmen, which is what the debt is owed to. So you are in error, Ms. Lima, and I suggest you get it correct and get it right and exact. Because you can't claim to represent the American freedmen and you're getting it all wrong, and you've been getting it all wrong for the past 30 plus years. Dr. Darity has these numbers and they're using his numbers to gain some type of traction and credibility, but you are a Klan African. You are a clan Africanist. CARICOM has absolutely nothing to do with us, and we are not included. The American freedmen are not included in CARICOM reparations, rightfully so. Nor do we want that trash ass thing that they're calling reparations. It must prioritize direct cash payments, infinite direct cash payments. It must prioritize protected class status. It must be exclusive to the American freedmen and must eliminate the wealth gap. It must have wealth and influence and equity exclusive to the American freedmen. What you're promoting in here is injustice. So how dare you come to us and want us to be on board with this injustice that you claim to be for the American freedmen? No.
Okay, may I respond?
No.
You obviously were not listening to anything I said.
No.
Sir, you
Hold on real quick, Fahima. Let him go ahead and finish.
thought he was finished with the diatribe. I'm sorry.
Have some grace and some elegance.
Freeman.
Ladies,
His other hands up.
so I'll land with this. The answer is no, Fahima. You cannot explain this away. You cannot defend your actions and your inaction and your failed results. We need production. We need results for the American freedmen exclusively. You have done none of that. And there is no explaining away your lack of productivity, your lack of justice, and the lack of all of these organizations that you're claiming to tout as a representative for the American freedmen. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit.
Okay, no, watch your language. Real quick, Fahima, I know you want to go ahead and respond, but we got Rose. Roz's been waiting for a minute. We're going to get back to you as well because you went for a long time too. So I got to go ahead and get to the new speakers. While I got it muted, guys, on the right-hand side up in the Jumbotron is the actual article. Go ahead and retweet this article out. It has already something like almost close to 80,000 views. So go ahead and retweet it out. Everybody, they're leaving comments and everything else about it as well. Fahima, I'm going to let you respond, but I got to go ahead and get to the new speakers because they've been waiting patiently. I will let you respond, I promise, but I got to go ahead and get to the new speakers. Also, for those that can support on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today. This actual article we're discussing, and it's got almost 80,000 views, comes directly off of the actual website. This is how we do with the media. This is from one of our curation partners, Neo Jim Crow. So definitely go ahead and retweet this actual article out. But once again, for those that can support us on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. For those that do not have Cash App, we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron. Same for my people over there on YouTube. The Cash App is on the screen. Guys, go ahead and support us. For those that can over there on YouTube as well, too. The actual Venmo and PayPal is up in the actual Jumbotron. Not the Jumbotron, but the description over there on YouTube. Venmo, PayPal is up in the actual Jumbotron. Oh, damn, I keep saying Jumbotron. In the damn description over there and YouTube as well, too, guys. And let me give a shout out real quick. The 400, thank you for your contribution on Cash App. Also, let me give a shout out because we had a couple people earlier today, even though we weren't on, did a Cash App. So Amaror, Derek, and Bryant, thank you guys for your donations on Cash App as well and PayPal as well too. Let me go ahead and get to Roz. And like I say, Fahima, I'm going to let you go ahead and respond after I get to Roz and I get to Hudson.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to say something. I was trying to just listen. I didn't even want to have to come up here. But it behooves me when I heard a lady speak before and say that the Asian hate crime bill includes us. And I went to Congress.gov S937, which is the bill, actually is made into law. And one of the things it tells you right there, tells you that who Congress is talking about. And I'm going to read what it says. Congress finds the following. One, following the spread of the COVID-19 in 2020, there's been a dramatic increase in hate crimes and violence against Asian American and Pacific Islanders. According to a recent report, there were nearly 3,800 reported cases of anti-Asian discrimination and incidents related to COVID-19 between March 19, 2020 and February 28, 2021, in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. During this time frame, race has been cited as a primary reason for discrimination, making up over 90% of incidents, and the United States condemns and denounces any and all anti-Asian and Pacific Islander segments in any form. Roughly 36% of these incidents took place at a business. More than 2 million Asian American businesses have contributed to the diverse fabric of American life. More than 1,900,000 Asian American and Pacific Islander older adults, particularly those older adults who are recent immigrants or have a limited English proficiency, may face even greater challenges in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, including discrimination, economic insecurity, and language isolation. In the midst of this alarming surge in anti-Asian hate crimes and incidents, a shooter murdered the following 8 people in Atlanta, Georgia, Region 7, of whom were women, 7 of whom were women, and 6 whom were women of Asian descent. And then they go into their names. My point in reading all of this, and this is up to the first paragraph, and it goes into it. I don't see anything. She said it includes us. It does not include us. It's not talking about protections for American freedmen, and there actually was an incident where there was a gentleman, I believe he was from the Congo, and the president actually did an EO to protect Congolese. That's when a police officer had run down a suspect, and he was supposed to be arresting him, and he pulled out his firearm and shot and executed the man, and it was on video. And after that, the NGOs jumped in, and everybody jumped in, and Joe Biden, President Biden, created a hate crime or protection crime for Congolese Americans, and we never got that protection from anything recent. We had it from in the 1860 after 1865, but people had used it. Also, we can't be included in CARICOM. But see, my point is, you can't just pull things up like people on here haven't studied in it. I actually did a breakdown a few years ago with a couple of others, and in their 10-point program, the CARICOM does not have anything to do with the American freedmen. It has nothing to do with those here in the United States whose ancestors date back to chattel and emancipated people in this country. It really doesn't even cover people who were from the Caribbean nations who moved out of those nations or now are in the U.S. because they cannot receive anything. And actually, it's not even based upon, CARICOM is not based upon race or who were owners of the people and who were descended from the slaves in those countries. It's based upon trying to get the business owners who were probably the descendants of the slave owners in those said nations benefits. So you're not dealing with people that aren't learned and studied in this. I mean, I know Howard taught you guys better than that, right? I know it did. So, formal apology, repatriation with Africa, Indigenous People Development Program, cultural institution, public health crisis, illiteracy eradication, African knowledge program, psychological rehabilitation, and technology transfer and debt cancellation. All that has to do with the island nations and not with us. So I'm not understanding why CARICOM was even brought up. But I do want to say that Jamaal Bowman, he needs to be brought to the front to answer questions, what he's talking about, because this right here, what he's normally talking about is just democratic chivalry. What you had mentioned before about, I had interviewed a lady from Evanston, and what you're talking about is definitely not reparations. I wish people would stop using that word for a housing voucher program. maybe the people there do need a housing voucher program, but please don't call it reparations. And it was like, I think, $25,000 backs if somebody didn't need it, or they needed $5,000. Nobody was sure about what was going to happen to the other $20,000. You got to make sure you're on point with your wording, and that you're talking to people that don't have deep-rooted, long-standing knowledge of what reparations are. You can't call everything reparations, and you can't just walk into a room and think people are not deeply seated in as far as the study of what we're talking about, because then it just insults you and insults our intelligence. So I wanted to just land on that. Thank you for letting me speak.
All right. Hudson, you had your hand up. Did you still want to speak?
Yes. Hey, hi. Good evening, everyone. To speak to what Fahima was talking about with the Caribbeans, the reason it's not about race is because they weren't enslaved under the system of race. So there was no racial system there. So that's why they didn't include race as a part of that. The issue seems to be that Jamaal Bowman, with this bill, like most people who are involved in using our ethnic identity, they are moving under the auspice of race. I want everyone to understand this. We were not enslaved under a racial system. People really have this misconstrued. Race wasn't implemented in the United States until the late 1800s, early 1900s. We were enslaved under an ethnic or caste type system. It wasn't specifically announced in that way, but it was still a caste system. And it was an ethnic caste system. And it was targeted towards an ethnic group, a specific group of people. All right? So we shouldn't even, if any bill or any law or legal action towards reparations involves race, it is automatically illegitimate, and it automatically should be castigated as a political ploy. All right? So eliminate race from your logic as far as it pertains to Black Americans, because race was implemented in the early 1900s. I landed there.
All right. Thank you. Let me go ahead and Fahima, go ahead. I know you wanted to respond, but go ahead.
Yes. So apparently people didn't hear what I was saying. They heard what they wanted to hear. Okay. I never said anything. I was simply explaining in this bill, HR 414, the reason why he said people of African descent is because I know there are people who on here that don't agree with that, but there are those that are of the understanding that those that were kidnapped and enslaved are the descendants of people of Africa. And during the UN Conference Against Racism, the term of people of African descent came up. I'm simply attempting to explain. Okay. This particular. Can I finish, please? Can I finish?
Yeah. Whoever's speaking, mute your mic. We only got one speaker at a time, but go ahead.
Okay. Now, the thing is I never said, I simply explained CARICOM, because those people from the Caribbean, they have their own reparations program with CARICOM. There's no way the United States Congress is going to pay reparations to people in other countries. I'm simply attempting to explain. So people want to understand, interpret it however they wish. That's up to them. But I never said anything of the sort. I merely explained why people of African descent was there, including HR 404. The other thing, going back to the Asian hate crime bill, as people mischaracterize it, is the COVID-19 anti-hate crime bill that was passed by the Senate. And it was sparked by Donald Trump referring to COVID-19 as the China virus. Now, the Justice Department are the ones that are going to enforce it. I've just put in the Jumbotron all of the elements. I should have put both of them in there together. All of the elements that are in the COVID-19 anti-hate crime bill that includes every protected class. Now, the other thing I wanted to say lastly, I am no longer active within COBRA. I said when I was in graduate school, I was the co-chair of COBRA. I worked with Dorothy Lewis, Charles Ogletree, and the late Johnny Cochran and John Conyers. That was in 2001. I didn't say that I was still active in COBRA. I simply was explaining. People want to attack me for my explanation. That's on you. But people were saying things, and I simply attempted to clarify it and bring information that would make it clear. And again, reparations are on two levels. There's the federal reparations, which was attempted to be redressed with H.R. 40, because irrespective of what we want and we demand, the United States Congress has to pass legislation and sign into laws, or the president has to do an executive order. So we can say we want this and we want that, but there is a protocol and how things are done in this country. We can demand whatever we want. We can say this and that. Yes, we can try to encourage and push and lobby, but laws are made by the United States Congress, and the president signs those laws or signs executive order. And the situation with a guy from the Congo, that happened prior to that happened after the Asian crime bill, as people erroneously refer to it. And I'll land there.
All right, Fahima, thank you. Let me say one thing, and then I'm going to pass the mic. I know you were saying that he called it the Chinaman virus or something, but they actually was calling it the Wuhan virus, where it actually originated from, which was the Wuhan. It came from a Wuhan lab. So I know that people were saying that, that was racist and this and that, but I never heard anybody say, you know what, the Ebola virus is racist, anything like that, or the West Nile virus. So, I'm going to have to just slightly disagree with you on that part there, but but we got a bunch of different speakers up. I'm gonna go ahead and get to Original, Rella, and Roz, and then we'll go ahead and kick it around. Go ahead, Original, you got it.
And let Rella go since I've already spoken, and I can go after her.
Okay, well, Rella, go ahead. You there?
Oh, Original, you got a place in my heart. Thank you.
What's up, Rella? What's up?
Shout out to the space. Roz, man, I don't ever give you your props enough, but I'm going to tell you right now, you hit it on the nail, on the head. And, Freeman, a lot of times, Prime Freeman, I disagree with his tact, but he was also very passionate in the way that he was delivering his concerns, which all of us agree. Fatima, I get the academic response, and I understand that from your perception, from the African descent, because I do understand that there is this Pan-African culturalistic responses that we tend to get. I was at Howard, and I went to the summit that Roland Martin and the group had. Cam Howard and Ron Daniels and all were there. And we got to speak to them. We got to speak to Dr. Carr. He was saying, America's going down, and, people need to think about getting out of here. And it's the same fear-mongering tactics, I think, a particular group of people like to use. I want to say with our community, we somehow must repatriate to another country in order to see some sort of repair or wonderful way of living, when I do not want to go to another country and be, again, the odd man out. And I think it's unfair
that somehow we all try to use the amalgamation when it comes to legislation and say, okay, the people of African descent, when in actuality, on the federal level, they actually did not define people by African descent in 1865 when emancipation had passed. They actually defined them as African American, yes, in the documents, but the Repair for Emancipation said that what it is that they were actually going to do for a particular group of people. And what you don't see, especially when you're talking about documents and the people who are Pan-Africans, is they don't talk about HR 613. They don't talk about the Freeman's Bureau. They don't mention anything having to do with the descendants in a way where it's an amalgamation of things. They talk about it as if only Africa was the only amalgamation mix in people. And a lot of the native tribes also push back on some of those rhetorics as well. It's not that they don't recognize them, because they do too recognize that we do have amalgamation with descendants from or people who hail from different countries, possibly on the west side, east side of Africa. But when you hear someone like yourself come into a space and you say Bruce's speech was reparations, it alarms. It sets off alarms because Bruce's speech was not reparations. It was a clear case of land theft and someone saying, hey, we're going to give you back a piece of land that was stolen from your family for years. Oh, by the way, you might not be able to afford it, so we already know you're going to give it back to us because we're not really going to repair this land back and entrust it into your family because there's red tape, there's whatever. And then you get people who come to reparation hearings, who again are Pan-Africans, and they want to block anything having to do with American descendants who do have freedman status, and say that, okay, well, if we don't push the African descent, that somehow we're not including everyone. Why can't you seem to have the actual academic astuteness to actually pinpoint who it is you're talking about, even in genealogy, and say that, well, we're specifically talking about the reparative issues for people in the United States here today, without having to try to usher people into some movement of repatriation. That's the scary part. Because I can do my own genealogy and I can map my family's history tree and I can find out where everyone is from, and I can be excited and have glee in my heart, but I can stand on the backs of them and say that I know my grandmother and grandfathers who were buried on this land, that they were Americans, that they were descendants. There's a history. There is something important about maintaining and not erasing those things. And sometimes I think it's very disheartening when I hear a lot of the Pan-Africans who have the ear of the Pan-Hellenic, who have the ear who are professors coming out of college, and who speak in such a disdain way that they have a problem with the terms the American descendant, the Negro, American freedman, and all of the other classifications that were given to us. Very, very disheartening. And I agree with Roz. You can call the COVID-19 bill the COVID-19 bill, but what's spelled out in the actual legislation itself, when you read it, Asians were put dead first. There was no specific language in the Asian hate crime bill, COVID-19 bill, that actually detailed what COVID-19 hate crime bill would actually do for the American descendants. Not even African descent was mentioned in the COVID-19 bill. So I challenge someone, I think, of your stature to actually start to take a look at your stance on how things are written and how they actually represent us and not everything actually has to be off of the backs of the genealogy per se, because a lot of it actually is talking about how are we represented in these bills and the conditions that we are in and the repair that is supposed to happen, because that's what happened with the Asians in that bill. It was a direct quote that Roz read, and she said, literally, harms, what we're going to do about it in that bill. Where are the bills that specifically state that for us? And the only bill that I can ever reach back to was HR 613, was the last bill that I could truly read that spelled out harms and what was going to happen for the emancipated freedmen. So now I would love to hear people pull out their hat, something that they're going to try to present to a people who are demanding and looking for documentation in 2024. If you don't have documentation on what it is that you're going to do for our people, then I think we should just move on, because I don't want to waste my time trying to convince someone who has not gotten there. I think maybe you just need to watch and learn, if that's the case. I'll land. Thank you, Newstoter.
All right. Thank you, Rella. Let me go ahead and get to Original. Original, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yes, I want to say this, Newstoter, because what one thing Fahima said. I want to reference her this book. There's a book. You can get it on Amazon. It's entitled 19 White Men Who Admitted There Were Indigenous Black People in the Americas when they got here. See, yes, there were some people that were brought here from Africa, but there were also Black people already here. And so I think we need to stop stating that. Oh, I guess you can say from a genealogy perspective or whatever that, you know, they came from Africa or whatever, just like the people from Fiji. They acknowledged that they came from Africa, but they left because of war and faction. They had to get up out the joint. And so people need to just stop. See, again, there is, for whatever reason, there is this agenda. Like I said, all these so-called Pan-African organizations who do not fund themselves, they take money from white people, and then they want to come and tell us what to do, and we're just not buying that. No. And let me say this. She also mentioned Evanston, Illinois. That is a joke, because they, at one point, I was listening to something, and they said that the people who would get this $25,000, they would have to prove that they were discriminated against from, I forget which time frame. It was like from 1950 or 60 or whatever to a certain point. Now, how many people do you think are going to have that kind of documentation that they were discriminated against back then? That is insane. And see, they keep doing stuff like that. Again, you have to look at the so-called Pan-African organizations who do not fund themselves. And then she threw out, let me say this, in Cobra has been in existence, I think, since 1987. And in Cobra is a sign of failure, colossal failure. They could not get reparation popping until the grassroots got it popping and started pushing it. So then here they come with their white backers telling them what to say and do, wanted to try to, that they telling them, they had probably telling them they had to get control of this because we don't want them freedmen Negroes getting any money. And they're doing exactly what their handlers are telling them to do. So no, we do not trust NCOBRA. We do not trust NARC. We do not trust the NAACP. We do not trust Institute of the Black World with Ron Daniels. All of them are nothing but paid agents. And they would never do right by us. And we have to understand that. And then she also mentioned Agenda 2025. Okay, that is what the Democrats are using now to try to invoke fear within the Black American freedmen Negro to force them to vote for the Democrats. Now, the Democrats do not want to make any concessions to us. They just want us to come out there and vote, and they're going to take our vote and use our vote to provide resources for all demographics except for us. That benign neglect is no longer acceptable. And if they don't understand that, that's just too bad, because I'm at the point whereby, okay, so what if Donald Trump get elected? Okay, fine. But see what the Democrats are doing, they are showing just how much they hate us to our very essence. They would rather see Donald Trump elected than to do right by us. Now let's not forget, when Jim Crow Joe Biden, when black folks saved him in South Carolina, and then the masses of black people across this country, except for me, I didn't voted for him in 20 and put him in office. He said to black folks, I got your back. And he has had every demographics back except for black folks. Then he goes to that Emmanuel Church in South Carolina a few days ago, telling the black folks, I owe you. But he didn't say he was going to pay you. You see, no, we would not. Let me put it this way. I would not be allow anyone to invoke fear in me so that I would go out there and vote because of this Agenda 2025. So if Donald Trump's getting elected, okay, fine. No problem. But you would not get my vote, and then you're going to turn around and take my vote and represent all demographics except the black American freedman Negro. That is not going to happen. So whatever you want to do and whatever group you work with, okay, that sounds fine and well. But I think that the majority of people in this space, we are united, and we're going to stick together and do what we have to do to make sure that we get exactly what is owed to us. And I want to thank you, Sister Ross, for bringing it up about the Asian hate crime bill, because I think she cited something about these people that were shot at these two. And let's be clear, these two so-called massage, those were hoe houses. So there were people going up in there having sex, doing all kind of stuff. But yet, for whatever reason, we don't know if they kicked off the white boy, what they did to him. And he went in there shooting up most of the places. So let's call that for what it is. Those were two hoe houses that the Asian was running, and whatever they did to piss this man off, he got pissed off and went in and shot up the place. So no. I am not going to sit back and allow people to use my vote in a manner that I didn't intend for it to be used. Because if you're not going to represent the Black American freedman Negro, then you are not going to get my vote. And at the top of the list of our concessions is lineage-based reparations. And I'll land with that.
All right. Thank you, Original. I appreciate that. Guys, up in the Jumbotron, we got the YouTube channel up there. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. For those that may be listening on YouTube as well, guys, make sure you go ahead and subscribe as well. Visit Newstoter.com to stay up to date on breaking black news, Newstoter.com. Let me go ahead and get to Hudson. Hudson, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, Newstoter, can I say my part?
Let me go ahead and get to some of the hands up for him right now, because y'all been going back and forth for a minute. So I'm gonna get to you. Is Roz go? Is Hudson's? Hold on. Is Hudson's go actually? Hudson, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yes. I was going to respond to, I believe it was Fahima. So what I was saying, I wasn't attacking you when I was saying what I was. When you say African descent, you must understand African isn't even a race. It's not a specific people. It's a continental body. And we need to begin to understand language when discussing this, because language is what's important when you're talking about law. And bills are law. So if someone says an Asian, right? Asian isn't a racial of melanated and
Hey, your phone is breaking up, Hudson.
so you need to understand.
Hey, Hudson, your phone breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, but it was breaking up.
I'm sorry, I was moving around. All right, so what they label it like a racial category, kind of like Hispanic, but neither are racial categories. A continental body, and it contains people of differing backgrounds, okay? And are Asians. Pakistanis are Asians. Czechs are Asians. Russians are Asian, okay? As well as Chinese people. Pacific Islanders are Melanesians. They're a completely different group than Asian. They're not even a racial group themselves. So what they're doing is they're manipulating language to really use people when it comes to law and when it comes to implementing specific targeted bills or presidential decrees. Okay, so the reason to speak to something else she said was when he did that for the Congolese. Understand that you cannot do anything specific based on race. It is unconstitutional based on the Supreme Court. All right. If you present anything to the Supreme Court, it will go under strict scrutiny and will probably be dismissed if it is not concrete in that discrimination or. So the reason he went up under the Congolese, which is a nationality, but he did that to avoid doing something for people, or you could say African descent or African American, right? So, and that would include our ethnic group. And all of this really comes down to, at the very bottom, the foundation of it all is ethnic bias, our ethnic group specifically and only. And I really need people to understand this. All of this is targeted towards us. It wants to deprive specifically our ethnic group. So in order to do so, they have to, when doing something for immigrant groups, they have to be specific, especially if they have this similar like us. So it is all, it can get very complicated. I'm going to post up some stuff in the Jumbotron so people can begin to understand that this is not race, this is not race-based, this is not racial. This is a caste system that is targeted towards our group in our lane.
All right, thank you. I'm not sure if Freeman or Roz, who was next, to be honest.
Me.
Well, go ahead.
It's not going to take me long. Yeah, I promise. It's not going to take me long. Thank you, Hudson, for stating that. I just wanted to go in for like 1 minute or less and just say when you're saying things like African people that are from African base or African origins or whatever, that's highly problematic because everybody who's Homo sapien, technically speaking, is of African origin. You can't say, well, you guys are from Europe or you guys are from China or you guys are from East India, because everybody on the planet originated in Africa. I mean, I know Pan-African, I grew up Pan-African, right? Most people that are my contemporaries did. We did. So I know that people take great pride in the entire globe coming from Africa. So how do you lock things down if you start saying African descent? It doesn't jive. It makes no sense. So you're basically opening up everything to the entire world with that statement alone. And on that, I'll land. Thank you for letting me speak again.
All right. Thank you. Real quick, guys, we got close to about 80 people up in the space. We definitely need your support. For those that can, if you got $1, you can donate to the platform. $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Once again, $Newstoter. If you do not have Cash App, we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron. Same for my people over there on YouTube. The Cash App is on the screen, and the PayPal and Venmo is up in the description. Also, if anybody wants to super chat or do the super sticker thing, we got that going on as well over there on YouTube land as well too. Let me go ahead and Freeman, go ahead and unmute your mic.
No doubt, man. Powerful space, strong BGQs, and testimony in here. So I have questions for Fahima, and I know she will not answer them because
I think she must have dropped down.
Yeah, it's okay. That's perfect because I'm not asking her these questions so she can answer it. As you can see, she has no honesty bone in her body and in her spirit, so there's no point in getting an answer. But I will answer the questions for her because I have seen her traitorous kind before. Are you voting for Joe Biden in this upcoming election? The answer is an obvious yes. She's a Democratic shill. Are you on the payroll of Jamaal Bowman? I don't know. But if the answer is yes, I'm not surprised. If the answer is no, she's still a Democratic shill. Are you on the payroll for Cori Bush? I don't know, but answer still applies. If yes, I am not surprised. You are a Democratic shill. And if the answer is no, makes no difference. You still do the bidding of the Clan Africans who work with Cori Bush. Are you on the payroll of NAACP, NARC, and Cobra, etc.? She claims and professes she is no longer with those organizations, but she wants to tout them and elevate them as if they have yielded one positive, constructive result exclusive to the American Freeman, when absolutely not, they have not. And then she had the audacity and the unmitigated gall to invoke the name of the great American freedman, Johnny Cochran, who will be disgusted with you and the lawyer representation that we've been seeing thus far with all of these NAACP Group 1 lawyers and everything else. So if you're not on the payroll of these organizations, you might as well be. You're doing free pro bono work for nothing. For nothing. You're useless. This is in-house cleaning. Welcome to in-house cleaning, Fahima. Anyway, what organizations do you recommend for American freedom and justice? I would surmise that she recommends ARC and Cobra, Reparations United, Scam Howard, and all of these other democratic shill organizations. Because why? She is the enemy to the American freedmen. What else? Does she think African and black people is that constitutional? It doesn't matter because she doesn't care. She came up on the stage and still supported the anti-American Freedmen Bill, anti-reparations bill, HR 414. And then she had the audacity and the unmitigated gall to call or support the housing voucher of Evanston, Illinois. All we have to do is listen to the Democratic shills, the showbiz liberation, respect to Dr. John Clark, the showbiz liberation people speak in these spaces publicly and privately, and they always reveal themselves. And you, Fahima, you are a disgrace to the black community. You are a disgrace to the American freedmen community. And there are no coons. Well, maybe there are some coons in this space.
Let's not get too personal, though, Freeman, but go ahead.
I didn't mention no names. There are some traitors in this space. Newstoter is not a traitor. White People Institutions is not a traitor. Original is not a traitor. I saw Brother Devon in the space of the U.S. Freeman Project. He's not a traitor. So I see someone laughing. Oh, yeah, he's most definitely a traitor on the stage. But nonetheless, Fahima, you are an enemy to the American freedmen, which is why you felt the need to explain, even after Ross detailed how that COVID hate crime bill was not inclusive of the American dream. You still felt the need in your democratic shield body to defend. You want to defend the indefensible. So it is what it is. You're an enemy, and this is in-house cleaning.
I'm gonna let Fahima respond to that real quick. I'm gonna give her a couple minutes, and then we're gonna get to the new speakers. We're gonna get to Rella as well too. But I'm gonna go ahead and let her go ahead and.
Well, the need to be disrespectful and insulting. I mean, I was not disrespectful and insulting to anyone. You've been disrespectful, insulting, and divisive. And it's counterproductive. If that's how you want to operate, then that just shows who you are. And I would just land with this: when people show you who they are, believe them.
That's right. You showed us you're a Confederate traitor. I believe.
All right. Let me go.
You better stop that.
Let me go ahead. That's what I say, guys. Let's not make this personal or anything like that. It's enough information. Everybody's got to go ahead and just keep it where it's at. Let me go ahead and get to I want to get to a couple of new speakers, and I'm gonna get to you too, Rella. Let me go ahead and let me give a shout out real quick to Velton and James for their contribution on Cash App. Let me go ahead and get the shot. Go ahead and get the shot, and I'm gonna get to James, and then I'll get to you, Rella.
Thank you, and appreciate you taking time to do these spaces. You guys are doing a lot, I understand. I wanted to just read this definition. Before I do that, I just want to say, when you resort to pejoratives and insults, you really limit your vocabulary because you could say exactly what it is instead of insulting. So this definition needs to be changed. African Americans, also known as Afro-Americans or Black Americans, are an ethnic group consisting of Americans with partial or total ancestry from any of the Black racial groups of Africa. Now, that could be someone coming from Nigeria or Caribbeans at any time. It is kind of ambiguous. That was never the intent of it. The intent of that name was about us, meaning African American, through the experience being enslaved in this country. That was the intent of it, and what should have went forward was that definition should have been updated, and so that it specifically talked about those people who came through enslavement. Most of them were from Africa and were enslaved. Now, if you're Indian, if you're Black Indian, then really it doesn't concern you. This definition of African American is not you. If you're Indian, right? So that's the end of that, right? And here's the question I have: after reparations, let's say we get reparations and it's over. If the name really is just to get reparations, then what do? We drop the freedman or the Negro and we go back to African American? Because it wasn't just about that. So people saying we're being specific about our name as because of reparations, it appears that they make that argument. So after we get reparations, then what? We still keep the name, or we go back to African American, or we go back to Black, or we go back to colored. We forget colored. What's wrong with we start a group called colored? Anyway, the bill for reparations, $14 trillion. I say we should do what we're doing, and we can chew bubble gum and walk, which means, for me, that means it should be secondary, and doesn't take all your time. The first primary thing should be us building our communities, not with the Democrats or the Republicans, but with our own, building our schools and building our economic base, group economics. I don't care that you save money because you voted for Trump. So what? You save money, you had a little business and you save money, and that's why this is about the group. It's not about you. It's about us as a group, and we need to be doing the things that we need to do, and we know what we need to do. Stop hiding behind reparations because you don't want to do shit, and it's going to be hard.
Watch your language.
Pardon my language. And stop hiding behind politics. Because you're not doing the things you need to be doing in your community, starting with your block, your neighborhood. Get together with the people on your block. Get together with the people in your area. Start addressing the
the school, take over your school board, over your school, so that you can implement an African-centered curriculum. That is part of the answer that's going to help us to address the problems in our community. Young people going into these schools, coming out, are of no use to the community because education is not designed for that. We've got to break that cycle. You got to have the tools to be able to even think like I'm thinking. You wouldn't even think that as a priority if you hadn't probably gone through the experience that I went through. Not just saying that it's just me. The problem with Pan-Africanism and Afrocentrism wasn't enough of us, because by now my students who are in their 30s right now should be doing the things that we need to be doing in our community, the things that I was taught to do in my community. It just wasn't enough of us. So that's the problem.
Okay, I appreciate that. I heard you say something to the point. Hold on, who's talking? Hold on. I heard you say something to the point that you were saying that if we get reparations, what do we go back? Do we call ourselves this? We call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. You know, I mean, I think if people got reparations, I mean, if you want to call yourself stinky, you know, who cares? As long as you got your reparations or whatever. Another thing, I know a lot of times when we talk about reparations, and sometimes when people are kind of, not so much against it, but not the biggest proponent of it, they say, well, you're not doing this and you're not doing that. But there are a lot of people in these neighborhoods or communities that are doing stuff. There are a lot of people that have nonprofit organizations. There are a lot of people that take time with the youth and everything else and the elderly and all this other stuff. But, a lot of times people feel like, well, it's almost like, well, you're not doing this, so you don't deserve this here or whatever. And I don't see how the two correlate. There are a lot of people that's out there doing things in the community. They've always done things in the community. You got people talk about the Christian church and everything, but there are a lot of elderly Black women, younger Black women, Black teens and stuff that actually get out there and help feed the homeless and clothe people and everything else like that and stuff. So I think that's a lot of times people say, you know what? Nobody's sitting up here nobody's sitting up here living out of a tent, eating out of a trash can and say, you know what? I ain't gonna do nothing till reparations come. I think sometimes people sit up, oh, you're not doing crap. You're just sitting up here worried about you hear a lot of white folks say that. You hear a lot of white folks saying, well, y'all just sitting up here waiting on another government handout. You're not doing. If you'd have read this tweet that I put today about Jamaal Bowman, that's the actual title. This tweet that I sent out today, this thing has almost 90-some thousand views, and they got all kind of comments and stuff, especially from a bunch of white people saying all kind of negative things. And you got a bunch of Black people saying it too. You got a bunch of Black people sitting up here saying this stuff too. That if you get it, all you're gonna do is still keep shooting each other, and you're gonna keep doing this, and you're gonna keep doing that. Like nobody would be bold enough publicly, face to face. Now, I'm not talking about hiding behind an avatar, but publicly would be bold enough to say anything like that to a Jewish person. Nobody's gonna sit up here and say, well, all y'all gonna do is, if they give you reparations for the Holocaust, is eat bagels. Nobody would say anything offensive like that, but they'll say it to Black people. Hell, other Black people will say it to them. So I just find that just like for the simple fact, because I know a lot of Black people in this space feel like, hey, you know what? And I think, and I know, Shah, you're a Pan-African too. So I know a lot of the resentment is the fact that, hey, we don't have enough Black people sitting up here saying that if we do get reparations, we all should get it. For the fact of the matter that you got Black people saying, you know what, it was a certain ethnic group of Black people that built this country up and went through hell on wheels in this country. They should be the ones that get it. So a lot of people get upset about that. A lot of people say, well, you know what? That's not right, because people that's coming over here right now, if they get stopped by the police officers, they're gonna see them as Black too, and this and that, and nobody's saying they won't see them as Black. But you can't sit up here and jump. You can't jump the front of the line. So
the Black Panthers is what we.
I ain't talking about the Black Panthers. I'm talking about right here, right now. No. Hold on. Don't cut me off. Don't cut me off, because I didn't cut you off. A lot of times people that have and then they'll start talking about the Pan-Africans, and they'll start talking about Dr. John Henry Clark, and they'll start talking about some of the elders, and they'll throw Malcolm X in there as well, to people that I respect a great deal, and I appreciate everything that they did for Black people in this country. But at the same time, we are in 2023. Things do evolve over times as well too. The same we are the world mindset that people had in the 80s They no longer share that mindset. And I'm like this right here. If I move to Jamaica tomorrow and I had kids there and Jamaicans got their reparation 20, 30 years from now, my kids shouldn't jump the front of the line. My kids shouldn't jump over there. I shouldn't say, well, you know what? I'm black just like y'all. I'm the same as y'all. You know, I'm here in the Western Hemisphere as well too. I'm a product of slavery. I deserve to get exactly what you get. The mindset that people have this, as much as Black Americans have suffered in this country and have done for everybody, and I'm talking about for whites, Latinos, Asians, other Black people as well too. And the fact that people get upset when it is something about Black Americans when they say, you know what, we deserve this right here. You get other Black people that get pissed off about it. You definitely get white people that get pissed off. We already know the minorities, the Asians, the Latinos, they get pissed. But you got other Black people that say, you know what, brother, I support you. I got a claim with these bastards over here from Great Britain and France and the Netherlands and all these other places. You stand behind me and I'm gonna stand. But it's no, we're not gonna stand behind you. Like, well, you know what? We came over here 20 years ago, and yeah, I know your family might have been here 250 years ago, and they built it, and they was ripping babies out your arms, and they was feeding babies to alligators, and Massa had his way with the women left and right, and y'all don't even know who's related to you and this and that because you've been screwed over time and time again. And then when you got out of damn slavery, you had to have the damn army down here just to protect you in the South. As soon as they went away, they started lynching you left and right. They started tying you to property, calling you sharecroppers. You couldn't leave town. You couldn't leave this place. They go ahead and throw the husband in jail, and then the sheriff come down there and tell the wife, if you want to get your husband out of prison, you got to come and sleep with me for the night. All kind of ridiculous stuff. And you got other Black people instead of saying, you know what, we sit up here and we support y'all. They sitting up here saying, hey, you guys are being divisive and that you're being selfish. There's not a Black person in this world that I don't support in terms of getting reparations, from the Black people on the continent to the Caribbean to the one in Europe. I think they all should get reparations from their colonial masters. I have no issue, no problem whatsoever with these people getting it. I support them 100%. The only thing I say is that support should be reciprocated towards us as well too. And it's not. And the minute you start talking about it, you start talking about reparations, and you start talking about specifically for Black Americans, people start sitting up here talking about y'all being selfish. You're only thinking of yourself. We all Black. It ain't. I go through racism and this and that or whatever. And this is more than racism. This is more than segregation. This is the actual core of what this nation was built on, that Black people are entitled to. And to hear other Black people sit up here and say it because you don't have this kumbaya moment, you know, is a little bit disingenuous, to say the least. You know, you don't hear Black people. I have never heard Black people say, a group of Black people, if France was to give Haiti reparations tomorrow, you wouldn't hear Black Americans for the most part. You have a few ignorant Negroes say something, but for the most part, Black Americans say, well, good for y'all. Y'all deserved it. The way they treated you, the way they did you, the way they've held that island down and prevented progress for y'all, we support you 110%. But then when it comes to Black people, though, they well, you know, we deserve a chunk of that. We deserve half of that. And it's like, wait a minute. We're not saying that you don't have a claim against the United States for mistreatment and everything else. We're just saying that claim is not tied to the exact same claim that we're talking about. If you want to file a claim against the United States, more power to you. We're just saying that your claim for what happened to you is not the exact same. And if anybody says that, hey, I came over here freely with my family didn't have to suffer the trauma that these other Black people suffered for hundreds of years, and it's the same thing, that's ridiculous. It makes no sense. That's impossible. The same way you have a lot of these white immigrants sitting up here telling you that they people were treated just as bad as Black people. And you know it's nonsense. You hear the Irish say it all the time, the Italians. Nonsense. Your people were not treated as bad as Black people. You can sit up here and talk about they had signs about no Irishmen, the Irishmen need not apply. Listen, they didn't have to have signs for Black people. Nigga, you better not walk in that damn door. They don't need to put up a sign in 1800 or something to tell you up north, hey, you know what? Blacks need not to apply. Nigga, if you walk in this door, you ain't walking out. And you understood that and you knew that. So to sit up here and you got everybody sitting up here saying that their struggle was the same, it's mind blowing. But go ahead, Shaw. I know you got something to say.
That's a really
spark something in you because you had a very long submission there. All I said was, and whenever I say this, it's interesting the response I get. What we need to do for ourselves. It's not about Jamaicans. It's not about Africans. It's about us and our communities and what we need to do in our communities. And that when I start talking about, putting our money together or doing what we need to do with our schools and even local politics, people usually, they're going to respond in a space like this. People respond and start talking about other extemporaneous things that don't have to do nothing to do with what I'm saying. When I say, and you made the point about this, you said, well, we do all of these things, people are helping and we're doing things. And the measure of us doing things is when you look back in time, you go, what things really that we did that was on a large scale that we did? And then you have to look, you civil rights is one of the things. The Black Panthers was another big thing that we did that was nationwide, that was very really in the community where we were doing things. What else? To some degree, I have to say Afrocentrism and Pan-Africanism. But Pan-Africanism is not really Afrocentrism. We kind of lump those two together to a degree and on an academic level, because that academic level was supposed to affect us, give us the tools to do stuff, to understand our situation and better respond, and to have tools to go in the community and make the community better. That's what Black Studies was about. So when I start talking about that, people start bringing up other people and oh, you guys just want to include everybody. I'm not talking about including everybody. I'm talking about those things specifically. Not all this other stuff y'all talking about.
Well, here's the thing. Historically, all the stuff you're talking about, we've done. We're the only group of people that have built up cities and townships and had them burnt to the ground. We're the ones that created organizations and stuff like that and had the feds and the CIA and everybody else up our what. So everything that you're talking about, we've done it. We've done it, and we've been undermined constantly by the government in this country. Now that's not a cop-out. That's not an excuse. That's American history. Hell, that's world history. So everything you're saying, from building universities, HBCUs, to townships, to having tens of thousands of inventions and everything else right here that you're talking about, to having movements that inspired people that weren't Black, that inspired the LGBTQ, white women, and all these other minority groups, we've done it. I think we saw that report not too long ago. We had Federal Navy and how they were sitting up here and just cheating over Black people and stuff like that. We talk about redlining. We talk about all this other stuff. Financially, we've been cut out of the financial sector and everything else like that. So to sit up here and say that when I have these conversations, we start including. No, I can give you historical data just like you can lay historical data as well too. None of these other groups have had a foot up there, the way we have. So it's not sitting up here and it's not creating excuses. It's just telling the truth.
What are we doing today? We've done it. It's over.
So everything that everybody's doing.
Bro, you gotta be honest.
I know you. We got people right up in this space that's got organizations that's out there doing stuff, and I'm not even talking about politically. I'm talking about nonprofits and stuff like that that's helping the community.
Newstoter, can I just add to this piece, because this is the part where I need people to understand. Shaw, you mentioned the Afrocentrism or African descent or education needs to be championed. We in America. Why would I need to champion? You didn't say Black studies.
But
and
that's
see that
Afrocentrism is.
No, because again, Hudson really also highlighted this. Language does matter. And if you literally are going to sit on stage and say, hey, we need something that is going to embody a curriculum that actually can give us a full-fledged, broad spectrum of history when it comes to descendants and everything adjacent to it, Black studies, why can't we have Freeman studies? Why can't we have studies about emancipation? Why is it that it has to actually start with African studies? Because they have African studies in college. They actually have that's not different, because you literally just championed that entire curriculum, your entire language. And so all I'm saying,
you don't understand the definition of it. You don't understand the definition of
Sha. I am not an idiot. And why is it that no, because I don't like people that do that. Why is it when we have a conversation about something you believe I don't understand because I'm not speaking the language that you're speaking, that somehow I don't understand it? That's not because I'm repeating what you're saying. I'm repeating everything. You did. And this is the part. The space is.
Yeah, he said Afrocentric. You said Afrocentric, but I mean.
He said African studies earlier. Yes. Okay, listen, sir. Listen. You said it earlier in your submission, and then you kept changing your wording every time you were trying. Hold on. You kept changing your wording every time you kept trying to mention or trying to convince in your conversation, in your submission, on trying to convince this entire space or Newstoter your position. I get your position is Afrocentrism or Pan-Africanism. I get it. We've had this conversation before. But again, it goes back to how are you trying to represent the descendant in the United States? And every time we have these conversations, you don't bring up anyone in Africa, any country in Africa that has stood up and actually made sure that they were championed. Any type of reparative justice, any type of reparative means, reparations for the descendants here or the people who were chatteled over here from that continent. I'm not confused. And you have to listen to what I'm saying and stop trying to respond. Listen to what I'm saying to you. You're sitting here trying to take a position that is your right as an adult. But you cannot force other people to take that same position when we literally understand that our identity has been erased in this entire grand scheme. And then you sit up here trying to make it seem as if we need African studies. We need to understand Afrocentrism. We need to be able to speak that language when we've never been to the continent, lived in the continent, hold on, our parents don't even teach that in our homes.
What does Black studies have to do with that?
We're not talking about Black studies because you didn't say Black studies. You didn't say Black studies, and that was my whole point in actually responding. Because every time you talk about anything having to do with Black in America, it's centered around African descent, African this, African that. No one is no, we're not submissive.
Are you aware that Afrocentric is Black studies? Are you aware that those are one and the same?
Hey, real quick, Rella, let me go ahead because we got some new hands up. So let me go ahead and get to them, and then we'll come back to y'all. Let me get to James because I know he's been waiting patiently. James, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Appreciate you allowing me to stage, brother. And good point, One Loves Black. Good points that you made. I'm a Foundation Black American. Proud of it. And like you said, we're not doing nothing. Well, here's another thing we can do. They have task force meetings for reparations. And we can control the narrative in that stage. Because as we see right now, they have a lot of white people, a lot of Asians that's representing these groups, and a lot of people that's not even from the country that's in these groups. So wherever your task force is at, wherever state you're in, find out what time is the meeting, and you go there because you have the voice and the power to choose the people who you want to speak for you. Specifically, you need to pick your foundational brothers and sisters because this is no time to be playing games with other countries. It's time for us to delineate. It's been time for that because when we tried to bring y'all together to get down with the Pan-Africanism, it was only one way. But now that we're doing it our way, everyone has a problem. I don't care. Cry me a river. What we can do right now is focus on ours and getting ours. So I advise everyone to, whatever state you're in, I'm in the city of Atlanta. Our meeting is this Thursday at 6 o'clock, 141 Pryor Street, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia. Be there, 6 to 8 p.m. I land my plane.
All right, appreciate that, James. Dark and Lovely was up here. She was next, but she's not up here. So let me go ahead and get to Naheem. Naheem, what's going on tonight?
Peace, what's going on, Newstoter? Shout out to everybody in the room. Sister Roz, thanks for the love. I just peeped this. Shout out to everybody in the room. I came up because I wasn't going to come up on the stage, but I heard Shah talking, and I was just scrolling through his Twitter page, and I see all the African stuff. I see he has a quote from John Henry Clark that he's attributing to Muslims and Christians about conquered people retelling history, which means he really doesn't understand the Islamic history and how it relates to the polemical scholarship of Afrocentric studies. But that's a whole nother topic. So I want to ask Shah a question. Tell me a little bit about Kwame Nkrumah.
Is this a test? You're testing me?
No, being that you're big on Africana studies, I just want to know a little bit about Kwame Nkrumah.
You should tell One Love Black what Africana studies is, so she'll understand how it changed from.
Go ahead, Rella, mute it up real quick. Go ahead, let them.
You're educating, right? So it changed from Black studies to Africana studies, right? So they don't even call it Black studies anymore, right? Okay. When I was there, it was Black studies.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Afrocentric
Wait,
education.
hold on.
Education in Black
you know what I'm talking about, right? But you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know who Kwame Nkrumah is.
Okay, tell me a little bit about it.
Kwame Nkrumah is is known as the father of Pan-Africanism.
Kwame Nkrumah is not known as the father of Pan-Africanism. Where did you get that from?
Actually, he is. And
So you bypassed. Hold on. So you bypassed Martin Delaney.
You
bypassed a lot of people.
All of these people, right, that were part of forming the OAU. And him being part of one group and another group, Casablanca group and a Monrovia group. But Kwame Nkrumah, right, was the one who was pushing for Africa to be one country. And as they were getting their independence, and they had a meeting, and he had this famous speech about how when we leave this meeting, Africa should be one country with one currency, with one government. And the other group went out. The Monrovia group, I think, went out, and they were like, "Well, we need to, kind of individually, we need to go slow and segue into becoming one."
Okay, I got you. So you can tell me a little bit about Kwame Nkrumah. Tell me a little bit about Joseph Rainey from South Carolina or Prince Rivers. These were very prominent freedmen, political figures in South Carolina, and I think that their works, which are the works that we stand on as well, are vital to our understanding and how we navigate through the United States of America. Can you tell me about these two men?
No, I can't.
What about Moses Dixon? He's born in Ohio. Can't tell me about Moses Dixon. Okay, cool. So my point is, right, we can't listen to people like you anymore. We've listened to people like you for a very long time. Now, you can run off some of the history of Kwame Nkrumah with no problem, but you can't run off the Freeman history when asked.
Well, that's okay, though.
Hold on. No, let me finish, bro. The screenshot that you have on your page of John Henry Clark, I believe it's from the documentary, what is that called? A Long Journey? Let me see. A Great and Mighty Walk. That is the name of it. A Great and Mighty Walk. I think that's from that documentary. And in that, one of the things that John Henry Clark knows is that Kwame Nkrumah, whom he met in Harlem, they studied together. There's a bunch of them, Afrocentrists, carrying on the Afrocentric legacy, the Pan-African legacy, right? And he goes to Ghana on a trip. And now Nkrumah is the king of Ghana. And he spots John Henry Clark in the crowd.
Yes, I heard
that. Right. Okay, let me finish it. He spots John Henry Clark in the crowd.
And John Henry, he's like, yo, stop the car. He grabbed John Henry Clark, who just happened to be in Ghana. And they link up, they chop it up, they have good time, yada, yada, yada. So this is a part of the story that John Henry Clark is telling about in Nkrumah. But then John Henry Clark talks about the failure of that state and how they didn't, he said, we wanted power so bad that when we finally got it, we didn't know what to do with it. And John Henry Clark, being so situated in Africana that he didn't know how to pivot back to American freedmen history for the solution. It's right in that documentary, and I'll put it in the comment section. He said, we should have did what the Japanese did after they got the, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, yada, 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 with the atomic bombs and how they rebuilt. He didn't go to an American freedman or African country for his model. He said we should have did what the Japanese did. And I'm going to put that link in the comment section for everybody to watch so they can know how to combat these people when they come up on these stages and they're talking this talk as if we should bypass the political process while we're in America as American citizens, that we should solely focus on education. Forget your wealth positionality. You mentioned this country earlier. No, hold on. I'm going by what I heard you say. Hold on, brother. I'm going by what I heard you say. Right. So that means forget your wealth positionality in this country. Just start with education. Forget the fact that immigrants are coming over and they're helping to suppress your wages, and you're going deeper and deeper into a recession. Forget all of that. Start from scratch and just get in the classroom and just learn. Just learn. Those days are over, brother. Let me tell you, just let me talk for a minute. Those days are over. Nobody's listening to you or that weak rhetoric, bro. It's over. It's played out. It does nothing.
Okay, I wasn't just an education person. I went into the community and made change. And my education came.
What's the name of your community? Which community?
Nairobi, California. East
Nairobi, California.
East Palo Alto.
Okay, so why wasn't okay? Let's take him on his word, y'all. Then why was that not replicated for all over California? The color of wealth that Nigerian Americans in California were worth $100,000, and that American freedmen were only $200. So if we're just saying work, brother, hold on. If we're just saying work, then why did it not work for everybody? Why wasn't it a model that could be duplicated?
It wasn't supposed to work for everybody. It was supposed to work for my community of 30,000 people.
Why you up here preaching to us about? Wait a minute. If it wasn't supposed to work for everybody, why you preaching to us about what we need to do?
You have done in your community, and why didn't it work for your community?
Oh, I've done a lot in my community. Okay, I've done a lot in my community. In my communities. I've done a lot.
Yeah, you asked me all the questions. What have you done?
A lot.
What? Like what?
Like what? Like a lot.
Well,
like a lot.
But name something.
No, I'm not naming anything.
You're not naming anything. You're gonna.
That's right. We're gonna put. We're talking. You're the one in your community. Listen. I have a whole Facebook page with the things that I've done in my community. I don't talk or brag about that stuff, but I'm not. What you're trying to do is deflect. What you're trying to do is deflect from the pressure that's being applied on you. Why hasn't your model? Why hasn't the model that you laid out and that worked for your community worked in any other California community? And if it was only for your community, why are you on this stage preaching to us to follow your model? Obviously, it only works for your community.
No, it could have worked in other communities.
It could have worked. Why
that model that we did could have worked in other communities, which was why let me tell you what we did. So we were an unincorporated area. We became a city in 1986. We came together, and guess what? We almost lost that vote. It was 2,000, probably 300 people that voted. It's in my timeline. 2,300 people voted out of 30,000 people. Half of that people, we won by 200 votes. Half of black folks, who were at that time, were about 80% African American. Half said no, it would be better if we did not have our own city council, police department, water department, fire department. We should just remain unincorporated area and get whatever they take whatever they give us, which is asinine and ridiculous. This is how we work against ourselves. Well, we won by a narrow vote, became a city, and then the white folks on both sides of our community were scheming and planning to, make sure that we didn't succeed. But the city is still a city to this day. Prior to that, a few years prior to the 70s, we had a junior college called Nairobi Junior College. We had a high school and an elementary school, and we had a sister city. Nairobi, Kenya was our sister city. It was honorary, but the potential could have been much more, where it could have been economic. But we just
let me jump in so I can finish, because I don't want to be long.
Right, of course.
On Newstoter City.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to the new speakers too. But go ahead, Naheem. Y'all get ready.
Okay, I'm gonna finish up with this. So this is what I came up here, right, to show people that, number one, that the day of listening to this banal rhetoric is over. If what can be successful in one place can be successful in every place. And I know, because I'm working on several local reparations commissions across the country right now. So I know this for a fact. I can speak on what I do, but I'm not, because I'm not the focus here. What we're practicing and what we're preaching and what we're practicing, many people in our own American Freeman diaspora is putting to work right now. I don't have to brag or boast about any of that. The second thing I wanted to show was that you can talk all of this African stuff. You could bring up Africa, but you don't know about Prince Rivers. You don't know about Joseph Rainey. You don't know about Pinchback in Louisiana. Like, you don't know about the people that we need to be. I can't throw spears like Shaka Zulu in the United States of America. We wouldn't have won the Civil War chucking spears and cowhide shields. So that stuff is irrelevant. And that's what I wanted to just drive into your head and drive into everybody else's head that's trying to push this nonsense. And with that, I'll say peace.
There's a lot of them, though.
Let me go ahead and get to appreciate that, Naheem. Let me go ahead and get to Dark and Lovely. Dark and Lovely, go ahead. I know you had dropped down, but you came back up, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and get your spot. But go ahead, how you doing?
Oh, good evening. Thanks for letting me speak, but I changed my mind.
Okay.
I don't have much to say, especially about the reparations bill. That's nothing to see here. And I was gonna say something shy, but others already took care of it, so I'm good. Thank you, Newstoter.
No problem. Let me go ahead and we got a new speaker up here, Lineage. Let me go ahead and get the Lineage. I'm sorry, not Lineage. Let me get to that Negro. That Negro was next. Let me get to that Negro.
All right, Newstoter.
What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right. Hey, DJ, how you doing? Salute to the host. Salute to the co-host. Peace, power, and Negro reparations to the room, specifically for the descendants of the Black American Negroes who built America with slave labor per the land promised in Special Field Orders 15, January 16th, 1865. Jamaal Bowman finally getting some act right. Co-sponsors a bill for reparations, $14 trillion. When I wanted to come up, I agree with a lot of what everybody kind of has said already. This is hot air. This is blow up. These people are just trying to hook us in. But I want to really point out the bigger picture, y'all. I've had $14 trillion on the Negro. We have had $14 trillion on the Negro website for the last, 3 months. We just switched it up last month to bump it up to $15 trillion to be the minimum. But the point is, they are listening to us, y'all. They are hearing us. Whether they're trying to watch what we're doing, they're trying to emulate what they're hearing us. And this even pushes me harder to say, come on, let's go to social. Let's go to something that's ours. Let's go where DJ's always talking about with the other platform where it's ran by us, for us, and through us. Because that $14 trillion hasn't been on anything that I've seen, like literally that number, except the resolution, the Negro resolution, y'all. So now they're coming up with that number. They are watching us and they are seeing what we're doing. So please, I want to thank everybody for doing what you've done, no matter which lane you've been in. Obviously, we are working. It is working. I ask us all to continue this push. Newstoter, thank you for bringing this spot for us and where we can converse and lift each other up, talk about this. But this right now is proof, y'all. They are watching and trying to see and be involved in everything we're doing. We need to get the hell off this man, this racist man's platform, and do our own thing. So with that, I'll yield the mic. Thanks a lot, Newstoter.
All right. Thank you, that Negro. As always, I appreciate you supporting the platform. So shout out to you and thank you for coming up here tonight as well. Guys, we got over 100 people up in the space. Like I say, for those that can donate to the platform, even if it's just $1, $sign Newstoter, $sign Newstoter. Make sure y'all visit Newstoter daily to stay up to date on breaking black news. We can't put all the content on Twitter, so visit the actual website, newstoter.com. You'll find a plethora of news, whether it's news, lifestyle, entertainment, culture, politics, health. Definitely go ahead and visit the site, guys, so you can stay up to date on breaking black news. And like I said, once again, $sign Newstoter for those who are able to support. Only for those who are able to support, $sign Newstoter. For those that do not have Cash App, we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron. Same for my people on YouTube. We have the Cash App on the screen, and we have the PayPal and Venmo in the description. Let me go ahead and get the Lineage. Lineage, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, what's going on, fam? Thank you for the space. Shout out to you and the co-host. Real quick, I want to ask a question before I go in. When I first saw the article that you ran, or the news update or news alert, I then went and looked at some other articles talking about this, and each one did refer to this as a bill that Jamaal Bowman has co-sponsored. I scoured the records of the House of Representatives, and I could not find a bill. So I know I came into the space late. So what I wanted to ask is there a bill or a bill number that you guys have that you guys are talking about, or are we discussing HR 414?
All right, this bill that I know this is. I think this is 414 right here that we're talking about.
Okay, great. So I just want to make sure that we're clear and that so that we can set the record straight on this. HR 414 is not a bill. It is not a bill. HR 414 is a resolution in the House of Representatives. And so that resolution is the same thing that Cori Bush got up there grandstanded with the Pan-Africans and the Democratic shills a couple of months ago now, where she announced the resolution for reparations. And that's all it is. A resolution is essentially a public statement or a press release from politicians in whatever house issues the resolution. Now, resolutions can be used to craft bills and to influence the governing body to pass a bill, but it is not a bill. And when I did the research and looked up what is in the House, one of the articles that was put out by the House of Representatives on their official website is linking the resolution to HR 40. And so I'm not sure if $14 trillion is anywhere in HR 40 as far as a starting point. But I did not see the $14 trillion as a starting point in the resolution. So either this is a bunch of misdirection, or they're using just that number because they got it from somewhere, they're talking about it, or they're throwing it out there, or there is a bill that they're going to introduce that he said is already introduced, that they're trying to get traction on, that has no traction yet. But the bottom line is, as we sit here today, there is no bill with $14 trillion in it that the House of Representatives has introduced. It is just a resolution, which is essentially a public statement saying, hey, we as a governing body support the idea of reparations. So I want to make sure we are straight on that. The second thing I want to say is to the sister Fahima that was in the space earlier, and to the other Pan-Africans, that they are the conglomerate. They are the cabal that we are up against in New York as well. And so that language of African descent is very problematic for a multitude of reasons, most with which were already explained. But one of the bigger ones is this: if you've listened to Cam Howard and the others of his ilk, the terminology of African descent is not in our political lexicon in the United States of America. Of African descent is a term that is used on the international stage by the UN and other international governing bodies. So what the Pan-Africans want to do is they want to introduce that language into our political lexicon so they can create a demographic that they then can give and justify giving our reparations claim to. The only problem is that currently of African descent is anyone that has descent from the continent, not the country, the continent of Africa, which includes all the multitude, thousands upon thousands of cultures, tribes, ethnic groups that have origins on the continent, which also includes, whether they like it or not, the Boers that settled there, have been there for centuries. They are white, they are of African descent. We have East Indians that have immigrated to Uganda. They are of African descent. In fact, one of the members here in New York City, in New York State, Zoran Mamdani, got up when that bill was being debated and said, hey, I'm of African descent, but I'm not black, so I wouldn't give reparations because the government has been the best option to decide who's black or not, and they're going to let everybody know that I'm not black, so I won't get reparations. This is the game and the slippery slopes that we're on, because either it's going to be of African descent as defined in the United States of America, which means anybody that's from the continent, which means it will not be reparations because it'll be a universal program, or they're going to get their way and it's going to be defined as just the black people from the continent, which then makes it race-based, which will be shot down based on the Constitution. And so this is the game that they're playing. And I was just on a call with a organization that kind of represents the conglomerate that they're putting together with the Democrat shills and the Pan-Africanists. And I asked the question about constitutionality. I said, this is a huge problem with which you guys have let pass because you supported this bill. And they told me that, hey, a lot of the lawyers and things that are part of these organizations, that are part of this conglomerate, they understand that it's unconstitutional to do race-based policy. But they did not want the laws of this country to govern how they do their advocacy work and what they believe. Not what they know, not according to the historical record, not the moral case, not the case based on lineage, but what they believe reparations should look like. So these organizations have gotten with the Democratic establishment, who I believe don't want reparations one way or the other. And they have decided to use our justice claim as their watershed moment, as they're making a statement to America to then take it to the international stage to say, look, see, we tried it and look what they're doing. They are essentially denying us our claim. And so international courts or international whoever or UN step in. And we understand no other entity can make America do what they don't want to do. And that's their play. And they're using our justice claim. They're using our ancestry, our inheritance to do that. So that's the second thing. Last thing I want to say is to Shah. And I just want to give shout out to the brother Naheem and everybody else that came up and checked what he was saying. I can give a firsthand account to what he's saying as far as what he's doing in his area is the same thing we're doing in our area, which is being used as a blueprint for other areas. So if you have a good plan, if it is sound and if it is logical, it can travel. And the issue that I have with the Shahs of the world, not with him particularly, but all of them that think like him because they all think like him. This weird idea that if you're advocating for reparations and you're going the political route, then you're doing nothing else on the side. I advocate for reparations in New York. I'm a part of an anti-violence collaborative here in New York. I coach. I'm at my local pantry. And I work with at-risk kids, teaching them how to use the graphic arts as a medium and an outlet. Guess what? That does not mean that any of them are less important than the other. But what it does mean is that the reparations claim is the most important and most transformative thing that we could be working on. Because here's what Shah said, and he contradicts his own argument without even knowing it. Or maybe he does, because they don't have no power, traffic, and hypocrisy. My man said, no, we should just do education. We should go down and we should stop going the political route. Right? Let's just find out what we can do for us. Then he said, go down to your school, get a curriculum instituted, and take over the school board. You know what that is? Politics. Then he brought up the Black Panther Party as the party or as an example of, well, that's what something that happened when they were doing something for their own self, right? But guess what? It was the Black Panther Party. You know what party is? Political. You know what the Black Panthers also did? Exercise their Second Amendment right. You know what that is? Political. You know what they did? They advocated for social programs, fed their communities. You know what that is? Political. You know, if you check out their 10-point plan, a number of the plans call for political action. And so this is the delusion that these Pan-Africans are under, but also what they fed to our community for far too long to take us down the road of mission drift. And we have no more time to play with them. We have no more time to entertain their delusion, because Pan-Africanism, now ending, I'll put my iron horse to the station of this. Pan-Africanism requires a level of unity that crosses over all cultural and ethnic lines, so that it is based on essentially melanin. You know who the only demographic that has ever done that documented in this world? Black Americans, the American freedmen. So to talk about Pan-Africanism in that way and see there's only one group that has ever done it, and we're still dealing with that one-sidedness today, we don't got time to play. And not having time to play is meaning getting to serious adult work. And the serious adult work is making sure we continue the work of our ancestors and what is owed to our families here in America. Thank you for the space.
All
Can I
right.
respond quickly to that?
Let me go, because we're getting ready to close it out. So let me go ahead and I'll give you 2 minutes to respond. 2 minutes is 10:48. At 10:50, I'm gonna move on to the next speakers. We got Hudson and Rella, and we're gonna be closing it out for the night.
All right, quickly. So what I said was we can no longer hide behind being a Democrat or a Republican and think that participating on a national level, maybe even a state level, is going to change our situation, because it hasn't. We can't hide behind reparations for the lack of being involved in our community. My hat's off to you that you're involved in your community, you're doing things. We need more of the 50 million of us doing what you're doing, brother. That's what I'm saying. So participating in local government is what I said too. So does that contradict the fact that I say that we're hiding behind politics? Because what we think is that if we vote, that's enough. Or if we do reparations, that's enough. And in actuality, whether we get it or not, because it could be it or not, that we will have a plan A in place, and we'll be doing the plan A that we can do. Like, and I'm saying from experience, we were able to do some things. It wasn't huge, but it was good. If we do some things in our community and focus on those things and do our reparations as a plan B, because it doesn't take a whole lot to do reparations, and then also participate in the politics, then I think that that's a good kind of way to approach it in terms of priority. That's what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying now, but that's not what you said before, but it's all good.
All right. Let me go ahead and get to I'll get to Hudson, and then I'll get to Rella, and then we're gonna Dark and Lovely. I thought you didn't want to speak, so I'll give you 2 minutes too.
No, I just wanted to say really quickly that there is a group that needs to hear what he's saying, but this is not the group. I don't understand why he always comes in here and he says the same thing over and over and over. Me and him have had this conversation before. He keeps having the same conversation, and we're not the group that needs to hear that. Why doesn't he go find the group that needs to hear that? You're in the wrong space. Why are you wasting your time like this?
No, Dr. Lovely. He needs to go talk to that failed city he's talking about that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, who that speaking? Hudson? Who's that speaking?
Yeah, that's Hudson.
Okay, Hudson, that's your go. So go ahead and speak, and then we're gonna get to Rel, and we're gonna be closing it out. But go ahead, Hudson.
All right. So everything is trash because everything that they did there, it failed. And it doesn't exist anymore. All right. How he's trying to present.
The city does exist. The cities come out to exist.
All right, Shaw, let him speak. Go ahead.
Speak, sir. We're not African Americans, sir. Continue to call us that, but that is an ethnic misnomer. No ethnic group can be an entire continent. I've told you this before. Continents contain nations. Nations contain ethnic groups. Okay.
So why did you lie at the beginning? Or why are you lying?
You already explained to me that that city failed, right?
Stop throwing him.
Hey, everybody, stay on your microphone. Shaw, stay on your microphone. Rella, stay on your microphone because we're not going to keep this going open. I let Marcel come up here. I'm going to let him speak for a couple minutes. I'm going to let y'all speak for a couple minutes, and then we're going to be closing this space out. Go ahead, Hudson. I'm going to give you a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, threw me off for a little bit. All right? But black in America pertains to black Americans, period. Race was instituted in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Black, we were enslaved under black, which was not our race at the time. So stop saying black applies to everyone across the world when it absolutely doesn't. As a word, it doesn't. As an ethnic identity, it doesn't. And as a race, it is brand new. So I'll land there.
All right, real quick, because like I say, everybody stay on your mic. We're going to be closing this space out. We've been going since 8 o'clock. Let me give a shout out to Stephanie and Shannon for their contribution on Cash App. Marcel, I'll let you go ahead. I'll give you a couple minutes, and then I'm going to get to Rella, and then we're going to close it out for the night.
Hey, everyone. So I was not going to speak. I really need to be sleeping because I have to be up early with these kids. But I just had to make some points. First of all, y'all brought out Divine. Y'all eloquently addressed some of the things I wanted to address. First of all, this is a false flag, this thing with Jamaal Bowman. They know what it is. I already read some language about black people and people of African descent. The Democrats and the Republicans play this game of bad cop, good cops, where the Democrats pretend like they're trying to do something specifically help the freedmen, and they're not. So they put forth a race-based bill. The Republicans will make their bad faith arguments. Oh, this is going to bankrupt the nation. Why do we have to pay for something we didn't do? And the Democrats will give piss-poor retorts if they give any at all, and to pretty much make it seem like reparations is some far-right extremist type of legislation, even though it's been done for other groups. And they won't destroy the Republican arguments with facts because they don't want to destroy it, because they don't want to do reparations. And if it manages to get out of Congress and gets the president's signature, it gets shot down being race-based. They do it on purpose. They try to do a psyop. They're doing that to try to send a message to us that reparations can't be done, and to say, well, we tried, but they didn't try with the intern Japanese, the Guamanians, the downwinders. Those who don't know, the downwinders were those exposed to radiation. They didn't try with the Iranian hostages. I could go on. They did it for them. So that's what this is, if they even think that long term. Now, I do want to say to Sean, I really get sick and tired of hearing about this. What if reparation doesn't happen? That is the dumbest, stupidest question I have ever heard. Reparation has not happened. So what the hell do we keep saying, what if it never happened? It hasn't happened. We're living in the reality of reparations not happening. So why do people always ask that question? We are living in the time without reparations as it happened. How about start asking, what will we do when reparations happen? We are living without reparations. Stop asking, what will we do if it does not happen? It has not happened.
All your plans, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we've done all of those plans, and they've all fallen short because we don't have reparations. All group economics, investing in our communities, building our own communities, we've done all of that. We're still doing it as we speak. And all of it has fallen short to substantially progress our wealth and our status in this nation because we do not have reparations. And if you have not seen us doing it, that's because you're either blind or you're hanging around trash and you have not been able to see beyond that. We've done every single thing that a group can possibly do to better themselves. And this nation has done every single thing that a nation could possibly do to terrorize us. So if you have suggestions about how things are to improve, how about you take it to this government? Because they're the problem, not us. I get sick and tired of people making it seem like it's some flaw on our part or some plan that we did not implement, and that's the reason for our situation.
All right, appreciate that, Marcel. Let me give a shout out to a person, a unsuspecting person that donated tonight. But shout out to him, Apia. Shout out to Apia for his contribution on Cash App. Shout out DJ with the smile. Shout out to Apia. Yes, definitely support Marcel. But shout out to Apia, man. Let me go ahead and get to Miss Rella, and then we're gonna close this one out for the night. Hey, tomorrow night, y'all, we're gonna be doing a space on Killer Mike, Run to the Polls, and also we're gonna be talking about the we're gonna be talking about the situation with the Kenyan government. They're trying to make $1.8 billion off of Black American tourism. So we're gonna be talking about that as well too tomorrow night. So make sure you guys join us. We're gonna be talking about Killer Mike, Run to the Polls, and we're gonna be talking about the Kenyan government trying to get Black Americans to come over there for tourism. They're trying to look and see if they can make $300 trillion in Kenyan shillings. I believe that equals out to about 1.8 billion US dollars. So join us tomorrow night as we speak on that as well too, guys. And let me give a real quick shout out to Be the Power for their donation on Cash App as well too. But go ahead, Rella, real quick. I'll let you get it and then we're gonna close it out.
Thanks, Newstoter. Definitely shout out to Marcel and Divine for their submission because that was pretty much on point. And I think like Shaw aren't we shouldn't pay attention to them. Instead, we should pay attention to them because as was already acquiesced in here, is that the language throws people off. And if you're someone who is just getting into how to support or get into the movement, you know, that fear of, oh, well, if you're not doing it from a African or Pan-Africanist way, will make people believe that that's the identity that they have to adopt when it's not. I don't think it's fair to force Americans, especially descendants, to have to use genealogy as the compass when we're talking about reparative justice. I think your identity and how you perceive yourself that's the work you do for yourself and your family when you are doing this particular work for the reasons of representing your family as an American descendant. But to have that discussion in an educational way and put it in academics, it has to come from the language that is already written and documented, and then we can actually change that information once we get to know more of that information. I shouldn't have to look for African studies, Afrocentric studies. I shouldn't have to know that. I shouldn't have to do all of that unless that is my time that I want to devote to knowing these different names of people for educational purposes. For real-time reasonings, what I need to know right now is, as an American descendant, someone who hails as a descendant of freedmen people, someone who has documentation and representation of my parents, their parents, and the life that they've lived, and knowing that they never got the reparative justice and some have died and are buried, should be enough for me. That should be enough for you. And I should not have to be derailed every time we have these discussions because someone wants to say, oh, well, we built a city and we named them after African countries in America. That's the same thing that the immigrants are doing now. little China's, little Haiti's, little this, little everywhere you look around, right? And then we're left in the dust. Where's the Freeman towns? What happened to all of the cities that were demolished? What are their names?
You know how many European named cities?
Stop. Just stop.
Yeah. Whoever it is, like I say, this is the last speaker. We about to get ready to close this off.
Like, stop doing that. Stop trying to derail other people's submission, because it's not, again, what you want to hear. You have to be able to actually ingest our position, our pain, and what it is that we see, the lens of life and experiences that we are going through right now, the discovery that people are going through as Americans, Black in this country, Negro, whatever, ADOS, Freeman, FBI, whatever, in this country. That's not no shot to you if you want to be a Pan-Africanist or hail yourself as what you want to call yourself. It's to say, stop demonizing me. Stop trying to shut me down and minimize my voice because you don't like the way I talk or what I'm saying, because it doesn't rest well with you and your education. That is not fair, and it's erasure. It is definitely a colonization mentality, and I don't like it. No. And other immigrants, yes, I don't like it. And other immigrants are picking up that behavior, and they're using it, and they're abusing Black Americans in the same vein.
That's not
Stop. Yes, you are. And I just
real quick, Shaq, go ahead and stay on your phone.
I'm expressing myself to you, and you can't even accept that. That's my problem. So what I'm saying is, stop derailing us in that lane. Please.
That's your emotions. I respect your emotions.
My emotions are a reflection of the way that you are treating me, and they are valid. Using the term emotions does not still silence somebody. That means I'm a real person, and you keep disrespecting me in this room. If you don't like it, then go elsewhere. Do that to the people who think like you, and let them tell you how they feel and what they believe. But stop doing that to us. And then try to demonize me saying that's my emotions. You damn right, I'm human.
I haven't cussed you out. I haven't used any curse words.
I said damn in my emotions. I don't care if you don't like it.
I haven't cursed.
All right. Okay. On that note, we try and let Rella go ahead. I'm gonna close it out real quick.
Thank you. All I'm gonna say is Jamaal Bowman, and I do agree with everyone else. And what Marcel said was pretty much on point always. And at the same time, it's a use-lose situation. There's nothing documented. There's nothing put in writing, and there's nothing going to the president's desk to say, hey, this is what we want in Congress, and we have a team of people that are going to push this. And so at the end of the day, they're going to throw stuff out there as what are those Hansel and Gretel type situations? Don't fall for it. Those are not the nuggets. Those are not the crumbs that we are searching for. Our ancestors gave us our crumbs. Callie House and Dr. Eric Dickerson, Dr. Claude Anderson, even Dr. Darity and Kristen Mullen, and a lot of the educators gave us our crumbs. Use them, build on them, and keep pushing. I appreciate everybody in their lane and hopefully working and collectively moving in 2024. Thank you so much, Newstoter, for the space, and DJ. Peace and love. Bye.
All right. Let me give a shout out real quick to Andre and Arthur for their contributions on Cash App. DJ, you want to say something really, really quick before I close it out?
Next space.
Okay. Check DJ out. It's going to be a continuation plus even more news and stuff in the next space as well, guys. Like I say, tomorrow night, join us. We're going to be talking about the dynamic of Kenyan government trying to get Black American tourists to come over there, and they're looking to generate $1.8 billion. We're going to also talk about Killer Mike trying to get run to the polls, trying to get voters to go down there in Georgia. All the Georgia voters get lined up for the election as well, too. So appreciate everybody that came into space tonight, guys. Thank you to all the listeners, the speakers, the co-hosts, and everybody else. Thank you for all of those that donated on Cash App. My girl Goddess Michelle just donated, so thank you, sweetie. I appreciate that as well too. Tomorrow night, join us. We'll be back once again, guys. We'll see y'all. Join DJ Space tonight. Peace, everybody. Be safe, and we'll see you tomorrow night.